And we are live. Is the mic working, guys? Getting an error saying the mic's not working. Let me know on the YouTube live. If the mic is working, wake up, Sam. London is calling. We are on London time again. Does your math hat speak British? Because we're on London time, boys. It's London time. It's London time. We got 30 minutes till kickoff, and it's the best schedule of the season. I would argue. Mike is good. Thanks, Kyle. I appreciate that. It's the best. It's the best schedule of the season when we get a London time game, a great game, a much better game than the London time game last week with the Falcons versus the Jaguars. Now we get the Bills versus the home team, Jacksonville Jaguars. I actually think, technically speaking, the Bills are the home team today, which feels a little unfair to the Bills. They're only 5.5-point favorites in this game. The sportsbooks are giving a lot of respect to the Jaguars' home field advantage in London. I think it's a real thing. I think it's going to be a good game. All right, Joey is in the live. Joey had the first comment in the live today, so we got to get to this one. And just so everyone knows, shout out to you, Joey, for shouting this out. Sam has brought me to back-to-back championships. That's what I'm talking about, Joey. We're going 3 straight. And right off the cuff here, we got a Cooper Kupp question. You got to start Cooper Kupp this week, guys. You have to do it. Cooper Kupp, it's exciting. We got him back this week. Him and Jonathan Taylor both going to be playing on our TV screens today. Both guys going to be out there. Cooper Kupp is the guy that needs to be started, though, not Jonathan Taylor. JT can be started in some situations. I think there's a lot more risk with the JT situation. It sounds like they do really want to ease him back. Is there a chance that Cooper Kupp also gets eased back? Yeah, there's definitely a chance of that. But Cooper Kupp's been number 1 in wide receiver points per game in PPR leagues each of the last 2 years. He had more points per game than Justin Jefferson last season. He had more points per game than Justin Jefferson the season before that, too. So, yeah, we're starting Cooper Kupp. Let me pull up the wide receiver rankings here. I got Cooper Kupp down at number 8. That might be the lowest we have him all season. So, yeah, you got to start Cooper Kupp here for sure. Joey. All right, let's get to the other players here, though. Jacoby Myers, Romeo Doubs, Tank Dell, Gabe Davis. Yeah, I think you got to bench these last 2. I think you bench Tank Dell, you bench Gabe Davis, you start Jacoby Myers, you start Romeo Doubs. I do like Tank Dell today, but the floor is low, and it's a similar thing with Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is just the touchdown wonder. He scores touchdowns, but he ends the game with 2 catches. And if he doesn't score a touchdown, Gabe Davis is going under 10 points, almost definitely. Like, he's just not seeing the volume to have consistent weeks without touchdowns. So he's going to be a prolific touchdown scorer. But yeah, I'm not in on Gabe Davis really in this game. The guy that I am in on in this game, and let me talk about this London game. We're going to prioritize the London question, guys. I'm going to be live for the next 3+ hours, 3.5 hours. So if you have London time questions, because there's a game starting in 25 minutes, and we got to prioritize those start sits right now. So someone's asking, why sit Alexander Madison? So JT versus Alexander Madison, seeing that one in the TikTok live, that's a tough question. Very, very tough question. I'm pretty nervous about Alexander Madison, and it's because of Cam Akers. So they get the Kansas City Chiefs today. Cam Akers played, 25-ish% of the snaps last week. I do think that could go up. I do think Cam Akers could take goal line carries away from Alexander Madison. And on top of that, they're playing the Chiefs, who have allowed the 7th fewest points per game to running backs this year. There's only been one running back this entire season to go over 10 points against the Chiefs, and that was David Montgomery back in week 1. Travis Etienne didn't do it. Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson didn't do it. Breece Hall, Michael Carter didn't do it. So, yeah, I'm pretty nervous for Alexander Madison. I think he's a must bench. I would play Jonathan Taylor over Alexander Madison. All right, let's get to some of the London time questions. We're on London time this morning, guys. We got a game starting in 25 minutes. I want to talk through this game in just overall. Then I'll get to some specific start sets. So, I'm in on Calvin Ridley still. Christian Kirk for sure can be started also. I think they're both wide receiver 2s with wide receiver 1 upside. Ridley versus Nico Collins, seeing a question like that in the TikTok live. And I think I have Ridley 2 or 3 spots ahead of Nico Collins. I know Nico's coming off a big game. That one's pretty close. I wouldn't knock you for going either direction there. I do have Calvin Ridley over Christian Kirk. I know Christian Kirk has balled out each of the last 2 games. Ridley's target share is going down. Without Tre'Davious White for the Bills in this game, this is a good game for the passing attack for the Jaguars. The Jaguars are 5.5-point underdogs in this game. The Bills have one of the best offenses in the league, and their defense, and specifically their secondary, is dealing with injuries. So, yeah, Calvin Ridley in play for sure today. I have him as a top 15 option, or top 18 option, I think, still in my rankings. Nico Collins is in the top 20, so they're both good options. On the other side of the ball, obviously, you're starting Steph Diggs, you're starting Josh Allen. I think James Cook is still a fine play. I think I'll pull my running back rankings here on the YouTube Live. We're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube, guys. We're going to be live for the next 3.5 hours, but we got a game starting in like 20 minutes. If you're watching live on TikTok, make sure you hit the follow button. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok too, the link to the YouTube Live is right in the TikTok bio. You'll get my top 25 rankings, every position in the YouTube Live. It will get to a lot of the questions I can't get to. Like in a PPR league, I think I would start Christian Kirk over James Cook. That one's pretty close too. All right, let's get back to some of these questions now. ETN, A-Chain, Hall, Mixon, Flowers, pick 3. Yes, you really have to start Travis Etienne in this game too. They're 5.5-point underdogs. But yeah, the volume's been too good to bench Etienne. I'm playing, I think, all 4 of these running backs over Zay Flowers this week. And I like Zay Flowers a lot this week, actually. But I like these running backs, I think, a little bit more. You're not allowed to bench Breece Hall this week, guys. Do not bench Breece Hall. I don't think there's going to be a single person today that I tell to bench Breece Hall today. They're playing the Broncos. So, first of all, the snap count supposedly is off for Breece Hall. So, no more snap limit for Breece Hall. But it's really the matchup for me that has me excited about Breece Hall, not even the snap limit. I think even with the snap limit, Breece Hall probably a top 12 running back in fantasy this week. Guys, the Broncos have a historically bad defense. You got to start Breece Hall. You got to start Garrett Wilson, too. I'm starting Garrett Wilson over Calvin Ridley. Starting Garrett Wilson over Christian Kirk in this London time game. I think Garrett Wilson needs to be started in almost all spots, too. I have Garrett Wilson as my number 11 wide receiver in PPR this week. Yeah, so this one, for me, comes down to A-Chain versus Flowers. Or A-Chain versus Mixon, I guess, and not Flowers. It's really between these 4 running backs. But yeah, you're definitely starting ETN. You're definitely starting Breece Hall. And then Mixon versus A-Chan. So I keep saying A-Chain. I know it's A-Chan. And yeah, I do have A-Chan a little bit ahead of Joe Mixon here in these rankings. Actually, I don't. I have Joe Mixon at 8, A-Chan at 11. It's Mixon over A-Chan. It's a good matchup for Mixon. There's no T. Higgins again this week. Now I know Higgins played last week and then got hurt. Sam, what W2F do I do? Kenneth and Rashad on bye. Gibbs out, and I got 50 put on me from DJ Moore. Help. My options right now, Ronnie Rivers, P. Ryan, or Reynolds back up on Detroit. Yeah, go Reynolds. Definitely go Josh Reynolds. You cannot start Jameson Williams this week because he's going to be capped at like 20 snaps. So Josh Reynolds is definitely in play this week because of that. I'm going Josh Reynolds. London time. Hi, Sam. How are you? I'm doing great. We're on London time this morning. You got to be starting Calvin Ridley today. You got to be starting Christian Kirk. I like Ridley more than Christian Kirk. I think ETN must start in most spots. Obviously, Josh Allen. I think Trevor Lawrence is in play for a lot of people too. Pick one, George Kittle, Dawson Knox, or Zach Ertz. Certainly Evan Ingram too is in play in this game, as well as Dalton Kincaid. I like Dalton Kincaid a lot more than Dawson Knox. I actually like Dalton. If we're talking props really quickly for this Sunday morning game, I do like the Dalton Kincaid prop. I do like Ridley's prop lines in this game as well. It's George Kittle here. You got to play George Kittle over Dawson Knox, over Zach Ertz. Let me pull the tight end rankings here on the YouTube Live. We're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. And on the YouTube Live, you get my top 25 rankings every position. I'm getting questions in the TikTok Live about why I have Jonnu Smith as a must bench. And honestly, guys, like Jonnu Smith, the numbers have looked fine for Jonnu Smith. I can't get myself to do it. I just cannot get myself to put Jonnu Smith in my starting lineup in fantasy football. We're talking Jonnu Smith, a guy who I don't think has had a game over 12 fantasy points for like 3 years. You got to go back to 2020 to find a game where Jonnu Smith went over 13 points, except for last week. He had 15 points. He was the number 3 tight end last week. He looks better than Kyle Pitts. But yeah, I really just don't want any pieces of this passing attack on the Falcons. Like, no, thank you. This team could easily throw less than 20 passes in this game against the Texans. This matchup for the Falcons is ideal, where they can run the ball. Even when they're down in this game, I expect the Falcons to run the ball. And I have the Texans winning this game. The Texans are 2-point underdogs. But the Falcons offense, they're going to be running. And they're not going to be passing. So, yeah, I'm out on Drake London this week. I want nothing to do with Kyle Pitts either. Sam, my guy, got some tough start sits. Need another option. All PPR. All right, flex, D-Hop and Watson or Ramondre. D-Hop, Christian Watson or Ramondre. Yeah, I lean DeAndre Hopkins. In PPR, I do like Hopkins this week against the Colts. Evan Ingram or Darren Waller. I'm leaning Waller over Evan Ingram this week. And I think most rankings out there have Evan Ingram ahead of Darren Waller. A lot of squeaky wheel narrative stuff going on with Darren Waller. I do expect him to get peppered with targets this week. And the Dolphins are going to destroy the Giants. They are 12.5-point favorites. I think they could easily beat the Giants by more than 12.5 points. That's not necessarily a bad thing for Darren Waller. I think he could see 10 targets in this game. You cannot say that about most tight ends. Purdy, also have CMC, or Stafford. I'm going Stafford over Purdy, I think, pretty easily this week. Let me pull up the QB rankings. Guys, Matt Stafford, he's setting up pretty well this week. I think he's a really intriguing play. He is currently, Matthew Stafford leads the NFL in passing attempts. The team leads the NFL in passing plays per game. Stafford has the second most passing yards in the league, and this was all without Cooper Kupp. And meanwhile, he only has 3 touchdowns. That's ranked 25th in the league. So he's the second most passing yards, but the 25th most passing touchdowns. That's Matthew Stafford. And now he gets Cooper Kupp back. Like, the touchdowns are going to come for Stafford if he's going to continue to throw this much and for this many yards. And also the Eagles secondary, not that great. Their defense, very good overall because their defensive line, extremely elite. But the Eagles are one of these defenses. They are a pass funnel defense because they're so good against the run. They rank 5th against running backs this season. But they rank bottom 5 against receivers because they are a pass funnel defense. Not only is the offense so good for the Eagles that teams are constantly playing from behind, but also the defensive line is so good. You shouldn't even bother trying to run the ball against the Eagles. You might as well just throw the ball every single time. And that's what we're going to see, I think, from the Rams today, especially with Cooper Kupp returning. That's why you got to start Cooper Kupp, despite him, coming back for the first game this week. I generally feel like lean on the side of let's wait and see how some of these guys do in their first game back. I'm not leaning that way for Christian Kirk. And I do think you got to start Puka Nacua this week too. London game, Nacua. Yes, Nacua. Especially if this is PPR leagues era in the YouTube live, you got to start Puka Nacua. Even with Cooper Kupp back, I think Puka Nacua is a solid wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside. It's one of the more intriguing storylines, honestly, to watch. I think there is a wide range of outcomes I could certainly miss on this Puka Nacua take. But what we've seen from Puka Nacua, guys, you don't see players do this unless they are very good. Like, you just don't see the type of numbers we've seen from Puka Nacua, record-setting target numbers. He's not going to continue on that pace with Cooper Kupp back, but he certainly has earned a significant role in this offense. He certainly has earned the trust of Matthew Stafford. And yeah, he's a wide receiver 2 at worst, I think, in PPR leagues, even with Cooper Kupp returning. Please help Khalil Herbert or Najee. Yeah, so you're really behind here because not only are we on London time, but you're talking about a guy that played on Thursday night and already got injured on Thursday night. So yeah, you got to go Najee over Khalil Herbert. Year 3 with Walter, London time, Kirk or Jacoby Myers, PPR league. Yeah, this one's close. I have Christian Kirk here at wide receiver 23 though, and Jacoby Myers at 25. So yeah, it's Christian Kirk over Jacoby Myers. It's a close one, but yeah, I lean that way. London game, James Cook or Breece Hall. We are not benching Breece Hall this week, guys. Not a single player. I'm not benching Breece Hall for Travis Etienne. I'm not benching Breece Hall for James Cook. I'm not benching Breece Hall for Joe Mixon. I even have Breece Hall over Josh Jacobs, which might be a tad aggressive. Jacobs will almost definitely touch the ball more than Breece. Like, maybe there's a better case for Breece at like 10 overall. Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, even they'll all probably get more touches than Breece, but they don't get the matchup that Breece gets today, guys. Let me just read you some of these numbers. I mean, from the Denver Broncos defense, it is a historically bad defense. They've given up by far the most points to running backs because, guys, in week 3, they let up over 90 points to Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. Brian Robinson went for 30 points against them. And then last week, Khalil Herbert had by far his best game of the season against them. And this week, guys, Breece Hall is going to have his best game of the season against the Denver Broncos. Fire up Breece Hall with a lot of confidence today. He's a top 10 option. He's in my top 5. He's at worst a top 10 option. Why Anthony Richardson over Tua? Yeah, let's do this comparison real quick in the YouTube live. Again, we're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. Yeah, I did have Lamar as a must bench last week. That one did not go well. And honestly, I'm going to miss. Like, I give a lot of takes on these lives, and I'm going to miss from time to time. I think that should be expected and should be expected from me too. And I was wrong about Lamar last week, and I won't make that mistake again. And honestly, Lamar showed us last week against the number 1 defense in the NFL that it doesn't matter who Lamar is playing. You got to be starting Lamar every single week. You got to be trusting in Lamar and Andrews. Andrews too. I mean, both these guys, to me, earned a lot of confidence from me last week against a really, really good defense. And that's why you got to have a lot of confidence with them this week in now a plus matchup against the Steelers. And I feel like there's a big narrative out there that, the Steelers, the Ravens, they play each other tough always. And maybe that's a reason not to play Lamar in this game. I'm not buying that at all. The Steelers defense has not been good this season. This is a much better matchup for Lamar than it was last week when he balled out against the best defense in the league, in the Cleveland Browns, or one of the best defenses, at least, in the league, in the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to pull up Anthony Richardson and Tua comparison here on the YouTube live because this is a really interesting one. Definitely not an easy choice. I have them really close to my rankings. Walter has them close in his rankings as well. And that's in the WalterPicks app. By the way, it's the best way you can support me. Check out the WalterPicks app. It's free to download in the iOS and Android app store. It's in the YouTube description. It's in the TikTok bio. And it is going to answer all your start sits. It's going to help you with all your start sits. How do you feel about Khalif Raymond today? I like Khalif Raymond and Josh Reynolds upside today. Bro's just yapping now. Why is it Debo? Yeah, Debo was a sit for me last week. I have him as not as strong of a sit this week, but he definitely is still a pretty risky play. And we saw why last week. I mean, he had 0 targets. He's clearly not at 100%. All right. I'm going to get the Jaleel McLaughlin stuff in a second as well. But first, let's compare Anthony Richardson and Tua. And this one's a really tough call because Tua obviously has had huge games. He's playing really well. He's still near the top of the MVP race. And he gets a good matchup against the Giants today. But guys, we just can't ignore the numbers from Anthony Richardson. And it's really the rushing. Anthony Richardson is averaging the 3rd most points per game at the quarterback position. In one of his 3 games, he only played 1 quarter, and he's still at QB3. And it's because when we look down at the rushing stats here, I mean, he's ranking top 5 in every key rushing stat at quarterback. He has the most rushing touchdowns among quarterbacks. Guys, rushing touchdowns are worth 50% more than passing touchdowns in fantasy football. Cheat code when it comes to rushing quarterbacks. He's also averaging the 2nd most rushing yards per game. I think this is only behind Lamar Jackson, 44 rushing yards per game. That is huge floor for fantasy football. That's a solid 4 points every week just on the ground, not even counting the rushing touchdowns, which he's averaging over 1 rushing touchdown per game still this season. And yeah, he's the 4th most carries. I just think the floor is really, really solid for A-Rich. I'm not feeling super great about the matchup in general. The Titans do have a good defensive line. But yeah, I'm in still on Anthony Richardson. I think playing him over Tua is fine, but it's super close. And I think Tua is, maybe just a little bit safer. The bust percentage for Tua is looking better. Only a 10% chance that Tua goes under 10 points. There's around a 20% chance A-Rich does. So, yeah, it's a close call. I personally lean A-Rich because of the rushing. I generally lean towards the rushing QBs just because of how scoring works. Should I put in Ridley over Olave? Start Calvin Ridley or Christian Kirk? Yeah, so I got Ridley over Kirk again this week. And I had that last week too. That obviously didn't work out last week. I do have Olave over both of them. The guys that I'm starting over both of them. Let's pull this up here. So obviously Jefferson, Tyreek, Jamar, Diggs, Lamb, AJ Brown. These guys should be obviously started every single week. Devontae Adams on that list too. I'm certainly starting Cooper Kupp over the receivers for the Jaguars today. Jalen Waddle needs to be started over Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley. Devontae Smith, Garrett Wilson definitely should be started against the Denver Broncos. Stroud or Love. Yeah, that one's close. I lean Stroud over Love this week though. Even though the matchup is tougher for Stroud. Puka Nacua needs to be started over Ridley and Christian Kirk, Michael Pittman, Brandon Ayuk. And then I got Ridley. Right after Ridley, I got Adam Thielen. And then there's a few players in between, and then I got Christian Kirk. I think both receivers there are decent plays. Guys, we got 10 minutes till a game starts. How do you feel about Odell? I want nothing to do with Odell or Rashad Bateman this week in fantasy. Maybe one of them could do well, but I'm in on Zay Flowers more than both those guys at this point. All right, let's get to some of these London time start sit questions. Guys, we're on London time this morning. We got the Jaguars, 5.5-point underdogs against the Buffalo Bills at home in London. It's a home game environment for Jacksonville, every game in London. All right, we got Ridley, Olave, Achane, Brees. 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Yes, you got to be starting Brees. And then I think it's probably Olave. It's Olave versus Achane. I'm playing Olave and Achane, I think, over Calvin Ridley. But for sure, I'm starting Brees. A different PPR league. Flowers or Hollywood Brown? If Flowers, does having Andrews affect that choice? Xavier, it doesn't affect the choice too much for me. You are limiting, I think, the ceiling just a tiny bit by playing them together, but you're also raising the floor. Like when you play 2 guys on the same team, there's a higher likelihood at least one of them does well. That's why you have a higher floor, but you also lower the ceiling because it's a little less likely both guys explode. But yeah, still, I think I'd lean Zay Flowers in that spot. London time. Love the new My Team feature on the app. Full PPR, Ingram, Ertz, London. Zach, thanks, man. Yeah, we are constantly improving the WalterPicks app, and we're listening to our users and what they want. And they wanted a My Team tool. They didn't want to have to compare, 10 different comparisons for one team. And that's what the My Team tool solves. Brand new tool in the WalterPicks app. Okay. Ingram, Ertz. Well, yeah, it's Ingram. It's got to be Evan Ingram over Zach Ertz, I think. Kylo, how we doing? Good morning, Sam. Happy London Day, part 2. All right, choose 2. Debo, Ridley, Flowers, or OBJ PPR. You're benching OBJ. You're certainly playing Flowers over OBJ. I think it's Ridley and Flowers here. Debo Samuel is definitely a wild card this week. I don't think he's as big of a must bench as he was last week, which he was on my must bench last week too. That was definitely a good call. He had a horrible game. He had 3 carries, 0 targets. He's just not at 100%. I think he's going to be closer to 100% this week against the Cowboys. But I still think I feel safer with Ridley and Flowers over Debo, definitely over OBJ. I'm playing Debo over OBJ, though, pretty easily. And then also, what player props do you like in the London game along with the props of the day? Yeah, so the prop of the day is, let's cut right to the chase here. It's Breece Hall, over 59.5 rushing yards. We cashed. Again, on Thursday night, we're 7-2 now on the free player props. I'm going to get to the Jaleel McLaughlin stuff in just a second. But the free prop is Breece Hall, over 59.5 rushing yards. I think he goes over 100 rushing yards today. I really do. I think he's probably going to be closer to 100 rushing yards than 60 rushing yards. The Denver Broncos are an abysmal defense. Absolutely abysmal. There's no more snap count for Breece. I think fire up Breece with a lot of confidence in fantasy today and definitely take this prop over 59.5 rushing yards for Breece Hall. The props I like in this London time game starting in just 7 minutes, I really like the Dalton Kincaid reception lines prop, and I like Calvin Ridley's reception and yards props as well. Why Justin Jefferson over Tyreek Hill? Yeah, I'm just not overthinking the top of these wide receiver rankings. Honestly, I think Jefferson against the Chiefs, though, highest floor, highest ceiling among all receivers. Tyreek's not that far behind. All right, London time, Christian Kirk or Debo, help. Yeah, it's got to be Christian Kirk. Again, Debo's risky. We saw it last week. He's just not at 100%. At 100%, it's Debo over Christian Kirk. But we're talking about like, what, a 70% Debo and 80% Debo? Where last week he literally only ran decoy routes. He was not targeted a single time. That just wouldn't happen at 100% health for Debo Samuel. So yeah, I'm just a little concerned about what percentage is Debo at. All right, let's talk about Jaleel McLaughlin, because every week I think there's guys like Jaleel McLaughlin that you can talk yourself into. And I want to pull up these numbers here between Jaleel McLaughlin and Samaje Perine on the YouTube live. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. And on the YouTube live, I can share my screen. And on the YouTube live, you get my top 25 rankings every position. JT is back today, guys. JT is back, and he's not a must start because he's not going to see his full normal workload. He still can be started, though, in some situations. Unlike Jameson Williams, who's literally going to be capped at 20 snaps, he cannot be started. Okay. Jaleel McLaughlin is a guy people are going to talk themselves into. And we got him projected ahead of Samaje Perine in the WalterPicks app. The Jets have been okay, not great against running backs overall. They're definitely a better secondary than they are against the run. Jaleel McLaughlin is averaging just 0.1 more points per game, though, than Samaje Perine. Perine's averaging more yards per game than Jaleel McLaughlin. And guys, the snap percentage, I mean, it hasn't been close. Samaje Perine is going to ruin your day, I think, if you're starting Jaleel McLaughlin. We've seen Perine play over 40% of the snaps now in 3 out of his 4 games. McLaughlin has looked better at times. Like, he had a big run last week, and he played 37% of the snaps last week, 72 rushing yards. He had 3 targets, 3 catches. He caught a touchdown last week. But Samaje Perine is going to be significantly involved, probably more involved than Jaleel McLaughlin. I think he will be. The yards per carry here, not even close. And I think this is why people are talking themselves into Jaleel McLaughlin. He's at 7.1 yards per carry, but he's not going to average 7.1 yards per carry. He had one huge run that's really inflating that. So yeah, I just think Jaleel McLaughlin on the Broncos splitting time with Samaje Perine is just not a safe option. I think it's a trap. I think Jaleel McLaughlin is the trap of the week. I think he could easily finish with less than 5 points. It just would not be surprising to me at all. Also, Javonte might play. Yeah, that's the thing too. Javonte Williams hasn't even been ruled out yet. And if Javonte plays, guys, McLaughlin's going under 5 points. Like, the floor is just so low, even if Javonte doesn't play. And I'm currently on the side. I don't think Javonte's going to play just because of the injury history. But yeah, I mean, Jaleel McLaughlin, he's the trap of the week for sure. London time, Zay Jones or Josh Reynolds. Yes, so Zay Jones, he is confirmed active today. He's been inactive, I think, the last 2 games. I personally lean Josh Reynolds over Zay Jones this week with Jameson Williams still not getting a full role. I think we've seen the ceiling from Josh Reynolds already. What other running backs? Let me get to that one. Good morning, Sam. Do I start Love or Lawrence? 50-plus yard TD bonus. I'm leaning Love because of the matchups. Yeah, I think let me pull up the QB rankings here. I actually think I might have Lawrence ahead of Love. I do have Lawrence ahead of Love. And part of the reason I do is the over-under in this game is really high. I think it's one of the higher ones. Yeah, 48.5 over-under in this Jaguars game starting in just a few minutes. And we have in the Packers game, it's 45. So yeah, it's pretty close over-unders. This game is probably going to be higher scoring though. And also with Tre'Davious White out, it's a tough call. These 2 guys I think are super close. The matchup is better definitely for Jordan Love than it is for Trevor Lawrence. But it's hard to factor in just how it's significant that Tre'Davious White injury was for, let's do this comparison here, Trevor Lawrence versus Jordan Love, because I think this one's pretty close. And I think Walter's going to agree with me about Trevor Lawrence over Love. Again, probably mostly just because this game is projected to be really high scoring. And yeah, wow. I mean, the Bills are number one defense against quarterbacks, but they don't have Tre'Davious White now. I'm okay going Trevor Lawrence. I'm fine going Jordan Love there too. I think it's pretty close. London emergency, pick 2. ETN, Achane, Mostert, Connor. Standard league. Yeah, you got to start ETN. I think ETN and Achane is fine, or ETN and Mostert is fine. I think starting Achane and Mostert is probably the safest thing to do. It's probably the safest thing to do. I actually might have them both ahead of ETN. I actually do. I think you should just do that. I'm a fan of starting Achane and Mostert when you can. When Gibbs is healthy. I mean, brutal stuff, by the way, with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery is a top 3 running back option all of a sudden this week. But I like starting Gibbs and Montgomery together. I think just these teams that we know lean really heavily on the running backs and give them a lot of high value touches and can score a lot of points. Starting both those guys is fine. Both guys can have big games, and at least one of Achane and Mostert is going to do well every given week. Hey, Sam, London question, Ridley, Hop, or Thielen at flex. Also pick 2, Mixon, Swift, Mostert, Madison. All right, yeah, there's a lot of tough London time questions today. I like all 3 of these receivers today. I think I have them ranked as Ridley, then Thielen, then DeAndre Hopkins. I think all 3 are very, very good PPR options. I'm playing Waddle over JT, seeing that one in the TikTok live. Do not start JT over guys like Jalen Waddle. Definitely not. Puka or Chase. Yeah, you got to start Jamar Chase this week for sure. All right, Mixon, Swift, Mostert, Madison. It's Mixon and it's Mostert. It's Mixon and it's Mostert over Swift. Definitely you're not starting Madison in this spot. All right, guys, we got a game starting in like 2 minutes. RB rankings. Let me pull up the running back rankings, seeing that comment. And we're live on TikTok and YouTube. And on the TikTok live, you're 2 clicks away from the YouTube live in the bio, and it's going to show my top 25 rankings, every position in the YouTube live. Better viewing experience. Jameson Williams or Madison. I'm not starting Jameson Williams this week. He's barely going to play. Who should I play instead of Mariano? I don't know who Mariano is, and I don't know who else is on your team. This is a tough question to answer. Nico Collins a start this week? Yeah, Nico Collins is a start this week, generally speaking. Pittman Jr. or Thielen? I knew there's going to be some tough Thielen questions this week, and I got Thielen ranked really high, and Walter has Thielen ranked really, really high this week too, because, guys, the numbers have been elite for Adam Thielen. There's no way around it. I still think Michael Pittman is a guy I'm starting over Adam Thielen. Let me put the running back rankings up again. I think Michael Pittman I'm starting over Thielen, but it's close. Spread picks if you can, please, Sammy. I got you. I'm taking the Jaguars plus 5.5 in this one just because they're at home in London, but I got my spread picks up on the screen right now. Is Tay playing? Devontae Adams, I do think is going to play, but I think he is technically questionable. Sam, Tank Dell or Flowers and a half PPR. I'm projected to lose by 10 plus with the Monra out. Do I go for flex? Who do I go with for flex for maximum upside? Yeah, this one's interesting because I actually think Tank Dell does have a lot of upside this week, and I'm going to do this comparison live on the YouTube live right now. Zay Flowers versus Tank Dell, 2 rookies that I actually like a lot today, and I think the answer here is going to be Zay Flowers. I do like the ceiling for Tank, because we've seen the ceiling. But yeah, the boom percentage is not even close. You got to go with, sorry, let me scroll down here a little bit for the YouTube live people. You got to go with Zay Flowers, who has a much higher boom percentage than Tank Dell. And yeah, it's a much better matchup for Zay Flowers. The Steelers guys. And I keep hearing this narrative of like, be careful with the Ravens offense. These Ravens-Steelers games are always really low scoring and close games. But you look at what the Steelers defense has done this season, and you look at what Lamar did against one of the best defenses in the league last week against the Browns. I don't know how you couldn't fire up Lamar and Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews with a ton of confidence this week. The Steelers have been the second worst team against receivers this season. Their secondary is not good. Sam, London time, should I play Ridley instead of Madison? Yes, play Ridley instead of Madison. For sure. You're starting Ridley instead of Madison. You're not starting Ridley over Puka Nacua. Ridley versus Ayuk is close. I still probably lean. I think I lean Ayuk in that one. It's close. Yeah, I have Ayuk a couple spots ahead of Ridley. But yeah, you're starting Ridley over Madison, I think, with a lot of ease. Guys, do not start Madison. Madison is definitely a ticking time bomb for busting in fantasy. And I'm trying to trade him at all costs right now. Collins or Waddle? Yeah, I'm going Waddle over Collins pretty easily. I like Nico Collins, obviously coming off a huge game. But yeah, you got to be going with Jalen Waddle. Zay Flowers, Nico Collins, Calvin Ridley, pick 2. Yeah, so I'm starting Calvin Ridley here for sure. And then Zay Flowers versus Nico Collins is definitely a close one. I think I have Zay Flowers ahead of Nico Collins. I do, just barely. And it's a better matchup. Yeah, they're back-to-back in my rankings here. And yeah, I have Zay Flowers ahead of Nico, but I'm starting Ridley over both of them. Guys, we got a game starting momentarily. It might have already started. I think it's about to kick off. We're on London time this morning. I hope you started Calvin Ridley. I hope you, for those of you that needed to, started Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram was definitely in play in this game. Trevor Lawrence, absolutely in play. Josh Allen started in all leagues, I'm sure. Stephon Diggs, I didn't see a single question about him. Gabe Davis, I don't think is a very reliable guy in this game. He scored a lot of touchdowns, but he does not have very many catches, guys. The number for Gabe Davis are kind of startling this season. I think he's a pretty good sell candidate in fantasy. I was able to trade him away in one of my leagues. We got London time this morning. I'll be talking us through this game all day. A-Rich versus Stroud. Yeah, I'm not benching Anthony Richardson just in general. He's number 3. Anthony Richardson is number 3 in points per game at the quarterback position, and he missed 3/4 of one of his 3 games. And he's still 3rd in points per game. I mean, crazy stuff. Crazy rushing production from Anthony Richardson to start the season, and you got to be really, really, really excited about that for fantasy purposes. All right, I got this game up here now in front of me. Let me full screen that and get back to some of these start sits. JT or Madison. Yes, I'm starting JT over Madison. Yeah, and I don't feel great about JT today. I'm excited for JT to be back. And by the way, I was wrong about the JT situation. I was in the camp for really like the better part of the last 6 weeks. It feels like for as long as, this really became a big controversy with JT. Would he play for the Colts again or not? I didn't think he was going to play for the Colts again. I also didn't think the Colts would give him a contract like this. That was part of the reason I didn't think he would play for the Colts again. I did think he was going to play again this season, but JT is going to win leagues if he can get to full health, and he's going to be really good, I think, alongside Anthony Richardson. This week, though, JT is not a must start. He's definitely not a must start this week because he's not going to see his full workload. Sky Moore or Khalif Raymond, down bad. Yeah, it's Khalif Raymond over Sky Moore. We cannot be starting Sky Moore. Sky Moore should be on the waiver wire, it feels like, in every single league. Why David Montgomery or James Cook? Yes, so start David Montgomery for sure. There's no Jahmyr Gibbs this week, guys. David Montgomery could easily lead the league in carries today. He could easily have the most carries of the day. Not even close. We got a London time game going on right now. Trevor Lawrence playing against the Buffalo Bills, and the Jaguars are kind of marching to start. 2 first downs, 2 plays, 2 first downs, 2 passes from Trevor Lawrence. This could be a fun one, guys. All right, happy Sunday. Sam, please help. Choose 3. Happy PR, Nico Collins, Deebo Samuel, Jordan Addison, Michael Wilson, Garrett Wilson, Michael Pittman, Javonte Williams. Yeah, so off the cuff here, you're starting 3. Let's just talk to the guys you got to bench here. You're definitely benching Michael Wilson in this spot. You're definitely benching Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams might not play. And even if he plays, you're not starting him. You're way too risky of a start. This week is Javonte Williams. So those 2 have to be benched. I think Jordan Addison, Deebo Samuel can be benched here too. So it's Nico Collins, Garrett Wilson, Michael Pittman. Nico Collins, Garrett Wilson, Michael Pittman, I think, in this one. And I do not think Travis Etienne got that first down. Breida, a viable RB2 today. I'd put him more in like the RB2/3, Luke. But yeah, he's viable. He's definitely viable. I think him over Madison, like, isn't that crazy even to say this week. The Giants are playing the Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to score a lot of points against the New York Giants. And Madison really dominated the touches last week. He had a couple lucky long receptions last week. But yeah, the Dolphins have given up the 10th most points to running backs this season. And Gary Brightwell, who's the backup to Matt Breida, is playing on special teams. Literally out there on special teams. So yeah, Matt Breida to me is like the clear number 1 running back right now for the Giants. And yikes, 2 straight runs for the Jaguars needing 1 yard, and they were not able to get it. All right, good morning, Sam. Thielen or Dell and Stroud or Richardson, full PPR. Yeah, I go on Richardson over Stroud. I am. Both guys don't have the best matchups today. I do think Richardson's matchup is better. The secondary for the Titans has not been great. The front 7, the defensive line for the Titans is really good. So interesting matchup here for Richardson. But yeah, you got to play Richardson, who's scoring more points than Stroud, despite Stroud, on pace to break all types of passing records. And then Thielen versus Tank Dell, it's Thielen over Tank Dell. Thielen is a much safer option than Tank Dell. And I'd argue even the ceiling is pretty comparable. I mean, guys, the numbers, let me pull up the numbers again here for Thielen. I know we talked about it on the Thursday Night Live. But guys, Adam Thielen is like really a must start in most spots in PPR leagues right now. Walter has him ranked as wide receiver 11. If I pull up Tank Dell, and this one's not going to be close. But Adam Thielen, if we just compare some of these numbers here in the YouTube live, and let me hide this comment so we can see a little bit more of the screen on the YouTube live. We're live on TikTok and YouTube, by the way, guys. On YouTube live, I can share my screen. I can show you my top 25 rankings right on the screen as well. Come to the YouTube live. We're watching live on TikTok, right in the TikTok bio. Adam Thielen's averaging 17.6 points per game. He has got more yards than Tank Dell, but it's really these receiving stats when you look at these. I mean, almost 7 receptions per game for Adam Thielen. He's averaging over 8 targets a game. That's top 17 among receivers. And the target share, 22% target share too for Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen's a top 20 option this week. I think also he's run the 5th most routes in the league. Adam Thielen's run the 5th most routes in the entire NFL. Crazy stuff from Thielen so far, and definitely a guy you want to be starting. Stop sleeping on Jameson. Yeah, so I'm not really sleeping on Jameson. Like the Lions need Jameson Williams. The Lions need a outside receiver that can stretch the field. There's no Amon-Ra today. Like Jameson Williams is a big need for the Lions. But they have also already come out and said he's not playing more than 20 snaps. And I'm not starting a player that's not playing more than 20 snaps in almost all spots. Burrow or Stafford. He had Stafford over Burrow. Stafford is a really good option, in my opinion, this week. Let me pull some of these numbers for Stafford because I think they will surprise you. They surprised me when I was looking at them because Stafford has not had a great fantasy season. But it's really the touchdowns, guys. The touchdowns are the only reason Stafford hasn't had a bigger fantasy season than he's had. Let me pull this up on the YouTube Live quickly. Stafford, if we look at his passing stats, Stafford has the 2nd most yards per game among quarterbacks, but he ranks 26th in touchdowns. Joe Burrow has even less touchdowns than Stafford. I'm certainly playing. Look at these numbers, guys. This isn't even close. You got to play Stafford over Burrow for sure. Stafford leads the league in passing attempts. He leads the league. He's 2nd in the league in completions. He's got the most air yards among all quarterbacks. And this is all without Cooper Kupp. And now Cooper Kupp returns today, and he's against a pass funnel Eagles defense. Guys, the Eagles defense is good. I feel like this is a lot of people get their mind twisted about the Eagles, though, when it comes to fantasy. Like, you don't have to bench all the players playing the Eagles. You want to bench the running backs playing the Eagles. The Eagles' defensive line is very good, but their secondary actually hasn't been nearly as good as the defensive line. They're actually allowing, I think, the 5th most points. We were looking at this just earlier. They've allowed the 5th fewest points to running backs, but the 5th most points to receivers. And they've been a good matchup for quarterbacks, too. The 7th most points to quarterbacks. Guys, Mac Jones had 25 points against the Eagles in week 1. Kirk Cousins dropped a 30 bomb on them. Sam Howell last week had 20 points. So, yeah, start Matthew Stafford. I think Stafford's a really, really good play today. And the touchdowns are going to come if he continues to throw this much and for this many yards. Prescott or Burrow. Yeah, I think I lean Prescott over Burrow, too. That one's closer, though. Actually, I might have Burrow over Prescott. I'll pull up the QB rankings here again. Anthony Richardson or Lamar Jackson. Yeah, this one's tough. Let me pull up the QB rankings here. I personally have Lamar ahead of Anthony Richardson. I think what we saw Lamar do last week against the Browns solidifies him as a top 4 fantasy football quarterback, in my opinion. He just did this against the number 1 defense. Let's pull up the game logs here for Lamar and what he did last week against let me pull this up for Lamar. Last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, Lamar has 28 fantasy points. He ranked as QB4 against the Browns. 9.8 yards per attempt, 2 passing touchdowns. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns. He didn't throw for that many yards, but a 28 bomb against one of the best defenses, maybe the best defense in the league. Previously, the quarterbacks that played the Cleveland Browns, Joe Burrow had 3 points. Kenny Pickett had 11 points. Ryan Tannehill had 4 points. Lamar had combined for more points. Lamar had more points than combined the 3 previous quarterbacks that played the Browns last week. And now he gets the Steelers. And the Steelers, guys, their defense has not been good. I get that there's this rivalry between these teams. Historically, these games are kind of close, slow, ugly, low-scoring games. I just don't think that's going to happen for the Ravens offense today, though. They get Odell back, Rashad Bateman back, and they've allowed at least 20 points to each of the last 2 QBs they played. Jimmy Garoppolo scored 20 points against the Steelers. CJ Stroud just dropped 22 points against the Steelers. So, yeah, it's fire up Lamar. I think he's QB4 ahead of Anthony Richardson, who I have as QB5. But both guys are really good options for sure. I just think after what we saw last week against such a good defense, Lamar really has just too high of a floor and ceiling to be benching. Pacheco or Achane? It's Achane over Pacheco for sure. Definitely. Jaleel McLaughlin or Miles Sanders, half PPR. Yeah, I want nothing to do with Jaleel McLaughlin. I think he is the trap of the week. I get the appeal. He had a big run. He's technically averaging 7.1 yards per carry. That's much better than Samaje Perine. But guys, Perine's played much more than Jaleel McLaughlin this season. And Javonte Williams hasn't even been ruled out yet, as far as I have seen. He's a trap. Jaleel McLaughlin is a trap. I'm starting Miles Sanders over him. Would you play Puka Nacua and Kupp together? Yeah, I'm doing that in one league. And I feel great about it, honestly. It feels like a really high ceiling, high floor play. Stafford is leading the league in passing attempts, and they're big underdogs today against the Eagles. So, yeah, start Cooper Kupp, start Puka Nacua. I have Cooper Kupp ahead of Puka Nacua this week, but I think they're both good starts. Tank Dell or Javonte Williams for flex. You cannot be starting Javonte Williams. Is Aaron Jones going to play? Yeah, Aaron Jones is going to play. Stroud or Love? I like Stroud a little bit more than Jordan Love. Kyren or Pacheco? I got Kyren Williams over Pacheco. PPR, I have Aaron Jones on Monday night. Should I risk him not playing and handcuff with Dylan or just start D-Hop or Breida today? Are you sure Brees over HN? My opponent has Hill to a stack. Yeah, I think that it is close here between Aaron Jones and D-Hop. I feel pretty confident Aaron Jones is going to play. He played last week. And I didn't see anything indicating he might not play. But now that I'm seeing two questions about this, I just want to pull this up to confirm for you guys. I don't want to tell people to play Aaron Jones if he might not play. And he's officially questionable for week 5. He played 20 offensive snaps last week. I still think Aaron Jones is a good play against the Raiders. I would still go Brees over Achane today. I like both guys, but yeah, Brees has a better matchup than Achane does, and Brees doesn't have the competition that Achane has as well. I think going D-Hop, and if this is a PPR league, D-Hop over Aaron Jones is fine. I think it's fine, especially with the questionable tag for Aaron Jones. I think D-Hop has a really good shot to have a big PPR day. Who should I start, Jordan Addison, Boyd, or Michael Wilson? It's Addison. It's Jordan Addison over Boyd. I think the ceiling for Jordan Addison is higher. Waller or Miles Sanders? Warren or Miles Sanders? Yeah, Miles Sanders is in a tough spot right now with the groin stuff. The groin injury is what held Miles Sanders out a lot during the preseason, and it's the same thing he's dealing with now. It's still Miles Sanders over Jaylen Warren. Let me read the latest for Miles Sanders. Yeah, he was groin limited on Thursday. Chuba Hubbard did outsnap Sanders last week and was more efficient. Sanders was dealing with the groin injury thing last week too. I still think I would go Sanders. Oh, God, yeah, Warren has a better matchup too. Lions have been good against running backs. The more I look at this, the more I kind of feel like it's Jaylen Warren over Miles Sanders. Sanders is definitely a pretty risky guy to be starting right now with the groin injury. Sorry, left for a minute. Don't know if you answered this already, but Sutton or Dell this week. Amon-Ra's injury and Amari Cooper's bye hurting big time. Yeah, we got the first bye week this week. First buys. I love the bye weeks because this is when depth starts to matter. And I think depth and how good your depth is for your fantasy team is a huge, huge thing for making the playoffs. And then you got to sell your depth once you've made the playoffs. That's the whole move in fantasy. And Tank Dell, Courtland Sutton, these are pretty good depth pieces, in my opinion. I think Sutton and Dell are pretty close for me this week. I think I would personally, off the cuff, lean Tank Dell over Courtland Sutton. Let's see what Walter has to say about this one in the WalterPicks app. And Walter has Sutton. Sutton's certainly been more consistent. Let's pull this one up. And I think the Jaguars did stop the Bills. And yeah, it's a better matchup here for Tank Dell than Sutton. I'm going Tank Dell over Sutton. I'm just agreeing with Walter on this one. I think Tank Dell still has a really, really high ceiling in this game. A lot of man coverage for the Falcons. Tank Dell is very good against man coverage. Guys, if you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. If you're watching live on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. Seeing a comment that says Saquon's not out. Saquon is out. He is out. He's doubtful. He's out. Doubtful and out, they mean the exact same thing in the NFL. I don't think I've ever seen a doubtful player play. I've been doing this for like 8 years. So yeah, Saquon is out. That is false news in the TikTok comments. And who made that catch? That was Christian Kirk. Big catch for Christian Kirk in that Jaguars game. London time this morning. Stroud or Kirk? Cousins. Yeah, it's Cousins. It's got to be Cousins over Stroud today. The ceiling for Cousins is definitely high here against the Chiefs. This game has by far the highest over-under of the day. This is going to be a fun one. This should be the big Patrick Mahomes game. We haven't seen a big Patrick Mahomes game yet really this season. We haven't seen it. He hasn't had bad games. Let me pull this up on the YouTube live. And we're live on TikTok and YouTube. Guys, on the YouTube live, I'm telling you it's a better viewing experience because I can share my screen. Dell or Pollard, you're starting Pollard for sure in all situations today. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes, guys, he doesn't have a game, really a huge game yet. He had 26 points against the Bears. That's a pretty big game. He's been right around the 20-point range every week. But this feels like one of the games that really should be a big, big boom game for Patrick Mahomes. A big run there for Travis Etienne. The Jaguars are in the red zone now. They're marching. I did take the Jags plus 5.5 in this game. A Debo or Drake London. Oh, God, yeah, I want nothing to do with either of these guys. I do think you go Debo over Drake London. You like throwing Rice in with Mahomes today as a flex? Yeah, Rashee Rice is an interesting upside flex play today. The floor is low for Rashee Rice, but the ceiling's also pretty high against the Vikings. Vikings have been horrible against receivers this season. Rashee Rice is definitely the Chiefs receiver you want. Today, he has played over 45% of snaps each of his last 2 games. He's got 12 targets over his last 2 games, over 17% target share in 2 straight. And Calvin Ridley, man, gets a red zone target, couldn't get in the end zone there. Yeah, so Rashee Rice definitely in play. I think especially for those of you in deeper leagues, Rashee Rice is a fine flex play. Walter has him a wide receiver 36. I think that's pretty reasonable. I think I'm at the end of my wide receiver rankings here today as well. I got how many receivers? I got 37 receivers in my top 25 wide receivers this week, and Rashee Rice is at 34. So yeah, I'm in on Rashee Rice for sure this week. He's in play. The ceiling's there. Opinion on Breida? Breida's a startable RB2 this week in fantasy. He is much better than Gary Brightwell. Tank Bigsby gets the carry for the Jaguars. I think that's 3rd and goal now, third and 4. Maybe they still can get 1 first down. Yeah, Matt Breida's in play for sure this week. Aaron Jones or Nico Collins? I think I lean Nico just with the Aaron Jones questionable tag. Puka versus Dell. It's definitely Puka over Dell. It's Puka. So I'm seeing a Christian Kirk question in the TikTok live. Guys, we're on London time this morning. This game already started. Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Josh Allen, Steph Diggs, Dalton Kincaid. All these guys already started playing. They're all started playing because they played in London today. And we're about to see a big play here from the Jaguars in the red zone. This game started a little bit ago now. Warren or Breida? Yeah, I lean Breida, I think, over Jalen Warren. Definitely a relatively close one. And the Jags just throw it away. They're going to have to kick a field goal here. Do you think Davante Adams plays Monday? I do think Davante Adams plays Monday. He is technically questionable. He's playing. It's a game against the Packers, though. Like, you got to think Davante Adams suits up against the Packers. We've seen Adams suit up injured before. You know, you never want your guys in fantasy to be suiting up injured. Just in general, too, even for your team, is probably not an optimal move long term to be playing through injuries. But Adams has done it in the past and has done well doing it. I think Cooper Kupp versus Adams is definitely a really interesting one here. I mean, I want to start both these guys just in general. I do have Adams still ahead of Cooper Kupp by 1 spot. Just by 1 spot, though. Definitely close. And we got an offensive line injury here for the Jaguars. All right, JT or Myers? I would prefer to bench JT this week in spots like this. Like, I think JT is going to be started over Myers basically every week beyond this. I do think JT, unlike I feel like with Cooper Kupp, I do want to wait and see what the role looks like for JT. It does sound like they're going to be pretty cautious with him. What's up, Sam? Down bad this week. Pick 2 full PPR. Addison, Jameson, Tank. Yeah, so we're not starting Jameson Williams this week, as you can't start Jameson Williams. And you can't start Javonte Williams either. Javonte Williams might not play. And even if Javonte Williams is active, he's not going to see even his normal workload that he was seeing before this. Start Gibbs. No, don't start Gibbs. Gibbs is not playing today. So, yeah, you're starting Jordan Addison and Tank Dell over Jameson Williams with a lot of ease. And you're not starting Javonte Williams. You got to start Breida over Javonte. Please help. Start Waller or Higbee. That's Waller for me. I actually really like Waller this week. And I get that Waller is not having a good season, but it is a really interesting spot for him this week. There's been a lot of talk since that last game that they got to get Darren Waller the ball more. I am kind of buying into that coach speak after the game. Darren Waller now has back-to-back games with 5 fantasy points. His best game this season came against the Cardinals, who are historically terrible against tight ends, and that was a 14-point game. He still doesn't have a touchdown this season. I think that could come today, and the Giants are going to be getting crushed in this game. That's going to be good for Darren Waller. Jonathan Taylor, I don't want to start him. Like, I'm starting Jacoby Myers over him, for example, in a PPR league, but I'm starting him over Alexander Mattison, and I'm starting him over A.J. Dillon, too. I'm not starting A.J. Dillon over Jonathan Taylor. I'm not starting Alexander Mattison over Jonathan Taylor. I'm not starting Jalen Warren over Jonathan Taylor. I'm not starting Javonte Williams over Jonathan Taylor. I'm not starting Jaleel McLaughlin over Jonathan Taylor. Najee Harris, nope, not starting over Jonathan Taylor either. But there's a lot of running backs that I will start over Jonathan Taylor today that I won't start, in the future. Same thing with receivers, especially in PPR leagues. Debo or Thielen. It's Thielen over Debo. It's got to be Thielen over Debo. Does Miles Sanders still have value? He does, but he's looking pretty risky. You got to start Laporta over Kyle Pitts, guys. You have to. You can't be starting Kyle Pitts. Answer my question. Burrow or Stroud? Noah, answer my question. I think that it's Stroud over Burrow at this point. I don't know how you could be trusting Burrow over Stroud with the numbers we've seen this season. JT or Sanders? Oh, gosh, yeah. The Sanders is really risky, guys. Let me pull up the running back rankings here. Where do I have Sanders? God, I have Sanders 1 spot ahead of Jonathan Taylor. I'm actually going to change this. I think I would go JT over Sanders at this point. There's enough risk with Sanders that I feel like it's pretty comparable. And I didn't see what happened in that Jaguars game. Maybe there's a penalty or something, or maybe they went for it. But they did get a 1st and goal now. I didn't see what happened there, but yeah, I'm going JT over Sanders. Sanders is enough. He's risky enough that I'm willing to eat the risk with Jonathan Taylor. Olave or Pittman? Yeah, these guys are definitely really close here in my rankings. I have Pittman 1 spot ahead of Olave. And that one's really, really close. I mean, it's a good matchup for Pittman against the Titans secondary. It's kind of a good matchup for Olave too. The Patriots are scrambling in the secondary. I mean, the Patriots lost their 2 best defensive players last week. 2 of their 3 maybe best defensive players. Judon out for the season. Christian Gonzalez out for the season. They were already missing their next 3 or 4 corners. They just signed they just traded for JC Jackson, who's certainly much, much worse than the last time he was on the Pats. Like, he is not the same player he was last time he was on the Pats. Pats fans. JC Jackson is our top corner, and he's maybe 20, 30, 40% worse than the last time we had JC Jackson on the team. Still likes the trade for the Pats, but the secondary is not good for the Patriots right now. I still think I lean Pittman over Olave, but both are good options. Both really should be started in almost all spots. Good morning, Sam. Breida or Sutton? PPR league. It's not a good matchup for Sutton against the Jets. I'm okay going Breida over Sutton. I do think Sutton probably has a higher ceiling than Breida in PPR, though. Brees Hall, Josh Jacobs, Kyren Williams, pick 2. Yeah, so it's Brees and it's Josh Jacobs. We're not benching Brees or Josh Jacobs this week, even for Kyren. But all 3 of these guys are top 10 running backs in my rankings, though. Zach Moss, he's a pretty risky start with JT back. I would say I'm not starting Zach Moss. I would play JT over Moss for sure. I'm playing JT over Breida, I think. Why don't you like McLaughlin? Because McLaughlin's been outsnapped by Samaje Perine this season. And Javonte Williams hasn't even been ruled out yet. So you're going to start Jaleel McLaughlin, who's had 1 good run this season. He's had 1 super long run this season. And that's what was getting us to start him in like an okay matchup against the Jets. I just think that Perine's going to be involved, whether Javonte plays or not. Perine is probably going to get around 40 to 50% of the work for the Broncos backfield. He could easily be the one that ends up scoring the touchdown and catching some of the passes. Like, the floor is so low for Jaleel McLaughlin. I really think he is a trap this week. Certainly there's some ceiling there, especially if Javonte sits. But yeah, generally speaking, I'm pretty out on Jaleel McLaughlin. Debo or Josh Downs. Got to be Debo over Josh Downs despite the injury risk with Debo. Nico or Adams. Got to be Adams. Zay Flowers over Tank Dell this week. Olave over Brandon Ayuk this week for me, I think. Yeah, I have it going. I have Puka Nacua, Michael Pittman, Olave, then Brandon Ayuk from 12 to 15 in my wide receiver rankings. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, come to the YouTube Live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. You're 2 presses of your finger away from the YouTube Live, and you'll get my top 25 rankings, every position on the YouTube Live. I try to get to as many start sits as I can, but I can't get to all of them. That's why the YouTube Live is really useful, where I can pull up my top 25 rankings for every position, and those answer a lot of the start sits. Also, the WalterPicks app can help you answer so many of your start sit questions. It's a free app. Link is in the TikTok bio to the app, and you can do as many comparisons as you want. And that looks like a touchdown, I think, for Zay Jones there. That was a really good catch from Zay Jones, and Jaguars at home in London beating the Buffalo Bills right now. We'll see if he got his feet in there. It did look like a touchdown from my point of view. Oh, there's also a flag, though, on the field. Stevenson, Connor, Harris, or Sanders, pick 2, happy PR. I expected a lot of Ramondre Stevenson questions today. And I actually haven't seen, I think this is the first Ramondre Stevenson question I'm seeing. Let me pull up the running back rankings here. I do think James Conner needs to be started in this spot. Yeah, James Conner for sure. And I think Stevenson over Harris and over Sanders. Oh, yeah, wow, I was roughing the passer on the Bills. So I think that touchdown will count here for the Jaguars. Yeah, it's James Conner. It's Mondre for me over Najee Harris, over Miles Sanders. I really don't want to start Miles Sanders, and I really don't want to start Najee Harris either. And Mondre definitely has some risk, but this is a pretty close projected game for the Patriots today against the Saints. Saints have been pretty good against running backs, but I still like the Mondre receiving role. I'm not panicking on Mondre. Pick 2 running backs in a flex: Mostert, Achane, Myers, Kyren Williams, Flowers. Also Kittle or Hunter Henry. It's Kittle over Hunter Henry. Against the Cowboys, Kittle's ceiling is still high enough that he does need to be started in most situations. Pick 2 running backs, play Mostert and Achane together. And then a flex, I think you go Kyren Williams over Myers and Flowers. Start all 3 of those running backs. And then, play Kittle over Henry. And they went for 2, I think, and got it. Michael Wilson, a good flex over Debo. I do think Michael Wilson is a good flex. And Michael Wilson is a guy I took in a lot of my best ball leagues. A lot of last round Michael Wilson teams for me out there. And man, he's looking pretty good. Let me pull up the game log here from Michael Wilson from last week. And the matchup this week too, we can take a peek at. Let me pull this up. The rookie wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, 26 points last week. He was the wide receiver 6. He's now played over 65% of the snaps in 3 of his 4 games. He had a career high routes last week, 35 routes, 7 targets, by far his highest target share of the day. And yeah, he gets the Bengals, similar matchup rank-wise against the Bengals today. He did score twice. I mean, I think we saw the ceiling game. We saw the ceiling game from Michael Wilson. I don't think the ceiling's much higher than what we saw last week, and we've already seen the floor too. The floor, I mean, week 1, guys, he played almost every snap. He only had 4 points. That was his first game in the NFL. So yeah, he's an interesting flex play. I don't think I'd play him over Debo Samuel, though, even with the injury risk with Debo. Morning, Sam. Nico or Zay? Yeah, this is a common one. I feel like I told too many people last week to bench Nico Collins. And this week, I do have Zay 1 spot ahead of Nico Collins. So I am leaning Zay over Nico, but it's definitely a tough call. It's a close one. And I would knock you for going either direction here. I personally lean Zay Flowers over Nico Collins. Trade Lockett for Flowers. Pretty fair trade overall. Why bench Jonnu? I cannot get myself to put Jonnu Smith in a starting lineup. I just can't do it. I get that he played good last week. I get that he looks better than Kyle Pitts. I just don't want a piece of the Falcons passing attack at all. I don't want Drake London. I don't want Kyle Pitts. I don't want Jonnu Smith. McLaughlin. Yeah, McLaughlin's a trap. Javonte Williams still might play, and Samaje Perine is going to play significant snaps and get significant touches in this game. Would not shock me at all if Samaje Perine outscores Jaleel McLaughlin this week. He's already played more than McLaughlin this season. JT or Raheem Mostert because Saquon is still hurt. Yeah, it's got to be Mostert over JT this week. Jake Ferguson or Waller, got to be Waller for me over Jake Ferguson. Garrett Wilson versus Cooper Kupp. This is a tough call here because Garrett Wilson is a great matchup. I think he's a top 12 wide receiver this week. The Broncos are abysmal. Guys, they're terrible. I mean, this is why we're starting Breece Hall with a lot of confidence. The Broncos have been even worse against the run than the pass. They haven't been good against the pass either. I mean, this is a historically bad defense. They rank bottom 10 against running backs, bottom 10 against receivers. They rank bottom 10 against tight ends, and they rank bottom 10 against quarterbacks. They're horrible. This is one of the worst defenses I've ever seen with the Denver Broncos. And the Jets had life last week against a decent Chiefs defense. So if they can continue that into this week, I do think the Jets win this game. I was pretty surprised. A couple of the spreads I was pretty surprised about this week. Let me talk about those. The Jets, 2.5-point underdogs against the Denver Broncos. I get that the game's in Denver, but give me the Jets winning that game. The other game that was a little surprising to me, the Colts, 2.5-point underdogs against the Tennessee Titans, getting JT back. The Colts are a better team than the Titans, definitely offensively. I know the defense for the Titans has been okay. Defensive line been pretty good. Maybe that's a good matchup for them against a run-first team. But yeah, give me the Colts to beat them in that one. I also like the Texans to beat the Falcons. They're 2-point underdogs in that game. And then finally the Packers, 2-point underdogs against the Raiders. I mean, I think the Packers, Texans, Jets, and Colts all should have been favored this week. They're all underdogs this week. Pretty surprising spreads for me there. I thought those were pretty surprising overall. You can find all my picks against the spread in the YouTube Live as well. Should I start Jordan Love or AR-15? Yeah, I'm starting Anthony Richardson over Jordan Love. Marquise Brown or Zay Flowers? Let's go. Marquise Brown or Zay Flowers? Yeah, I think I go Zay Flowers over Marquise Brown. Let's go. Are Fields and Moore must starts until they disappoint? Yeah, I still think there's some matchup considerations depending on who you have, but yeah, I mean they're looking like must starts for sure right now. And yeah, I lean Cooper Kupp over Garrett Wilson, by the way, to answer that question officially. But yeah, it's a tough call because I do like Garrett Wilson a lot this week. Sam, pick one: Hopkins, Dell, Thielen. It's Thielen. It's Thielen, then Hopkins, then Dell. And I think there's a pretty big gap between Thielen's and Hopkins and then Tank Dell. I think the floor is much lower for Dell than Thielen and Hopkins. I think they all have pretty comparable ceilings. Devon Achane, Kyron Williams, or Jalen Waddle, full PPR. Love the app. Andrew, thank you, man. Yeah, the best way you could possibly support me is by checking out the WalterPicks app. It's free. There's no reason not to check it out. I spent the last 3 years of my life helping build the WalterPicks app, and it's going to help you. It's going to give you very valuable insight into start-sit decisions, into trades, into ad drop decisions, into player props, into DFS. It's going to help you with so many things. Definitely check out the WalterPicks app in the TikTok bio, in the YouTube description. Andrew, thank you for shouting out the app. And yeah, Jalen Waddle needs to be started in PPR leagues this week for sure. Achane and Kyron are close. I think here in my rankings, I think I have Kyron 1 spot ahead of Achane. It's a tough call. This one's super, super close. And yeah, I do think Kyron gets the ball more than Achan. It's a worse matchup for Kyron, but Kyron can still get a lot of receptions, I think, in this game. The Eagles have been really good against running backs. I actually think I'm going to swap these two, though, here in the rankings after thinking this one through. We'll do this comparison on the YouTube Live, too. Again, come to the YouTube Live if you're watching live on TikTok. It's a better viewing experience. You get my top 25 rankings every position, and I can share my screen, some of these comparisons that we talked through. And yeah, I'm going to put – I actually think both these guys probably should be over Kyron this week. Achan. I have Achan and Mostert back-to-back here in the rankings. I would not be shocked either direction of which guy does better here. But yeah, I would go Achan over Kyron, and I'm fine starting Achan and Waddle. That's not a problem for me with the Dolphins offense. Pick 2, Devontae Smith or Breece Hall. Or Nico or Achan. Full PPR. It's the first two here. I'm starting Breece Hall over Devon Achan today, and I'm starting Devontae Smith over most players as well. Achan versus Devontae Smith is maybe close. I want to do this Achan versus Kyron Williams comparison from the WalterPicks app here. And this one is pretty close here. And the Bills got stopped again. The Jaguars are going to win this game, guys. They're 5.5-point underdogs in this one. I did like that against the spread this week. All right, yeah, Kyron Williams does win this comparison in the WalterPicks app. But yeah, look at the matchup difference here, guys. It's not even close. The Eagles have been the best defense against running backs this whole season. No defense has been better against running backs than Kyron Williams. Sorry, then the Eagles defense. And that's who Kyron Williams plays. And then we got Achan against the Giants. They've been 25th. They ranked 25th against running backs. Horrible against running backs. It's Achan for me. It's Achan over Kyron. I'm playing Achan and Mostert over Kyron, just given the matchups. But generally speaking, I still think I prefer Achan. I prefer the role that Kyron has. Prop of the day. Yeah, Xavier. We got people coming back for the props of the day because we're 7-2 with the free player props in this stream. I mean, this is pretty unparalleled accuracy we got with the player props. We've missed on 2 out of 9 this season. And I got another good one today. I also did like the Dalton Kincaid and Calvin Ridley props in this game going on right now. I don't have the stats in front of me how those are progressing yet. But the official player prop of the day, it's Breece Hall over 59.5 rushing yards. He locked this one in with a lot of confidence today, guys. The Broncos have been just terrible on defense. They let up 87 rushing yards to Brian Robinson earlier this season. Devon Achan ran for 200 yards against them. Raheem Mostert ran for 80 yards against them. Chris Brooks in that game against the Dolphins ran for 66 yards. Khalil Herbert had 103 yards last week, and now we get reports Breece Hall, no more snap count for Breece Hall, and he gets the best matchup of the season against the Broncos. The Broncos have the worst defense in the league, and it's pretty rare, honestly, that through 4 games you can confidently say that one team has the worst defense in the league, but yeah, the Broncos do. They have the worst defense in the league pretty clearly, in my opinion. So yeah, go Breece Hall over 59.5 rushing yards. I could see him beating this in just a couple carries against this team. We've seen running backs already do that against this team. Morning, Sam McLaughlin, Zach Moss, or Justice Hill. Jonathan Taylor is unlikely to play. Is this a report we're just getting recently? Because I thought he was likely to play. And some Bills injuries. Wow, defensive tackle out, doubtful to return. Daquan Jones for the Bills, and Matt Milano just got a knee injury too. And yeah, I'm not seeing that Jonathan Taylor is unlikely to play. I think Jonathan Taylor is likely to play. I think Jonathan Taylor is not going to see his full allotment of snaps. But he is going to play, and he's definitely in consideration here. Like, I'm starting him over Zach Moss. I'm starting him over Jaleel McLaughlin. I'm definitely starting him over Justice Hill. Like, I don't want to start any of these guys. Must start DJ. Why? Daniel Jones is a start this week because Daniel Jones is still having an okay fantasy season despite the Giants being just absolutely atrocious. I mean, the Giants, guys, they got sacked more in their last game than we have seen in like the last decade. Crazy sack numbers for the Giants. Meanwhile, Daniel Jones still squeaks out 11 fantasy points because he's running. He's running a lot. 10 carries for 66 rushing yards for Daniel Jones last week. He gets the Dolphins. The Dolphins are a bottom 3 defense against quarterbacks this season for fantasy purposes. The Giants are going to be getting crushed in this game. Daniel Jones is going to have the ball in his hands a lot. No Saquon again means more rushing for Daniel Jones as well. And we've seen him have a 30-point game this season against the Cardinals. I think that is his ceiling in this game. So yeah, he's got a good ceiling. I think the floor is around 10 points too with his rushing. And pretty good chance, honestly, to score a rushing touchdown for Daniel Jones with the rushing stuff. And yeah, I'm starting JT over guys like this. Pick 3, AJ Brown. I'll get to that one sec. Can you give me your thoughts on Cards-Bengals game quick? Thank you. Yeah, I'll get to the Cardinals and Bengals game in a second. AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase, Puga, 6-man PPR. Yeah, 6-man league, clearly. You got to be starting Jamar Chase. You got to be starting AJ Brown. And I think Puga Nacua over Garrett Wilson is fine. That one's close. And yeah, let's talk about this Bengals versus Let me pull this up. The Cardinals versus Bengals game. And I actually am taking the Cardinals against the spread in this one. This feels a very winnable game to me for the Arizona Cardinals. There's no T. Higgins this week. They're saying Joe Burrow's calf is starting to feel better. The Cardinals have only played in close games, though. And, man, the Bengals are really, really struggling overall. And we got it should have been a touchdown. I think that was Christian Kirk in that Jaguars game. Just missed him, Trevor Lawrence. We are in London time this morning. Nico Collins or Kyren Williams, the flexible. But yes, Kyren. Got to play Kyren over Nico Collins. I do like Nico, but I'm not starting. Guys, I'm never starting two tight ends. Don't start two tight ends. Why JT? I'll talk about JT again in a sec. Warren Breida or Sanders. God, yeah, Sanders is so sketchy this week. And Xavier, we'll get back to that question here in a second. I think I lean Breida over Sanders and Jaylen Warren. I don't even think my rankings are going to reflect that too. I maybe have to move Sanders down the more I think about him. Sam, you forgot this part. LOL. PPR pick 3. One sec, I'm going to sneeze, I think. I jinxed it. It'll come. D-Hop, Hollywood, Zay Flowers, and Aaron Jones. Yeah, let me pull up these wide receiver rankings here again on the YouTube Live. We're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. We're going to be live for the next 3 hours plus here. I have Hopkins one spot ahead of Zay Flowers. In his PPR, honestly, if it's PPR league, just start these 3 receivers. Yeah, start these 3 receivers, Xavier. Bench Aaron Jones. He is questionable. There's a little bit of risk here with Aaron Jones. It's a good matchup for Aaron Jones, but yeah, I'm okay with going the other direction and starting those 3 receivers there. DFS lineup. Thank you, Ryan, for coming back again for the DFS lineup. Last week, guys, we overthought it. We overthought it like too big. We were trying to be too different last week, starting Aiden O'Connell with Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams. That was just a bad lineup from me, Ryan. I'm sorry. Last week was a bad lineup. But the best part about DFS is we get to come back with a new lineup this week. And here's the lineup I'm playing in DFS today. I got Kirk Cousins stacked with Justin Jefferson. And yep, I'm paying up for Justin Jefferson because I don't think that many people are going to do that with this price on DraftKings. And I think Justin Jefferson can absolutely break the slate today against the Chiefs. Same thing with Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is top 5 ceiling today against the Chiefs. Chiefs defense has been good, but the Chiefs are going to be winning in this game. The Vikings offense will not stop the Chiefs today. And that's going to mean a lot of passing for Kirk Cousins. We've seen them go extremely pass heavy in games where they fall behind. You just look back at some of these games, guys. The first 3 games, Kirk Cousins went over 340 passing yards in all 3 of those games. And I think he could do that again today. I think Justin Jefferson will be a big piece of that. And I think this is the only chance that the Vikings have to keep this game close is Kirk and Justin Jefferson. I'm also going Breece Hall and David Montgomery. I'm eating the chalk here on DraftKings and FanDuel with Breece and Montgomery. I expect them both to be played a lot. I don't know how you could not play David Montgomery this week in all contests. All contests, head-to-head, tournaments. This guy could get 30-plus carries. He had 32 carries last game. Coming off a thigh injury, now there's no Jahmyr Gibbs, and the Panthers have been horrible against running backs. Everything is aligning for David Montgomery this week. I think he is a top 5 play. I think I have him ranked number 3 in my running back rankings because the matchup is great. The situation is great. The game script is projected to be great. And the Panthers, guys, they've allowed the 4th most points to running backs this season. So, yeah, I'm in on David Montgomery. I see a 30-plus point game coming for Monty. He has extremely high touchdown ceiling. And then, yeah, Breece against the Broncos. I'm not overthinking that one. I got Breece everywhere today. Breece Hall props, Breece Hall DFS lineup, Breece Hall in my starting lineups in fantasy leagues, in my head-to-head contest, in the daily draft game. Start Breece Hall. I'm going Marquise Brown, Josh Downs to kind of mix it up here and differentiate at the wide receiver positions. I think both these guys are intriguing upside plays with the volume they're seeing. And Sam Laporta, I like a lot today in DFS. There's no Amon-Ra St. Brown today in the middle of the field for the Lions, despite a not amazing matchup for Laporta against the Panthers. They haven't been terrible against tight ends this season. The Carolina Panthers, they've allowed the 8th fewest points to tight ends this season. Not a single tight end's gotten over 10 points against them. They did play TJ Hawkinson last week. He only had 5 points. They played Kyle Pitts in week 1. He only had 6 points. But I do think the ceiling is pretty high for Laporta. I think not many people will be playing him. I don't really love stacking Montgomery and Laporta, though. I really wanted to get Darren Waller as my tight end in this matchup, in this lineup, but I couldn't find the price. I am playing the Giants defense too. They're the lowest priced defense. I like paying down for defenses in general in these tournaments, and then Garrett Wilson too. And I don't love, if I was going to mix up anything about that DFS lineup, don't really love stacking Garrett Wilson and Breece together, and don't really love stacking Montgomery and Laporta together. What spread are you most confident in or like the most? Also, any Weatherman Sam today. Yeah, thank you for calling out the Weatherman Sam. And yeah, the spreads I like the most today, Colts plus 2.5, Texans plus 2, and also Jets plus 2.5. Jets plus 2.5 is probably my favorite one. I do think the Jets beat the Broncos today. I don't think that the Broncos beat the Jets. The Jets have a good enough defense against this Broncos offense. Jets have a good enough offense. If they can do what they did last week against the Chiefs, they absolutely will beat the Broncos today. So Jets plus 2.5, probably my favorite one. I do also like Colts plus 2.5. I think they beat the Titans today too. All right. Weatherman Sam. Yeah, there's one game with weather you should be aware of, and it's actually the night game. I believe this is the night game tonight. The San Francisco 49ers. The Cowboys are playing in San Francisco, and this game's going to have some wind. 17-mile-an-hour sustained winds. There could be wind gusts over 25-mile-an-hour range, and there's probably going to be some rain in this night game tonight too. That's the Weatherman Sam report. Be aware, just for the pass catchers in these games, I don't think it really moves me off any of these start-sit decisions. This isn't quite enough wind for me to be like panicking about this game. Like 25-mile-an-hour wind is really where we get concerned. So it is a little bit under this. I do think there could be gusts into that concerning range. It doesn't really move me off of Brandon Ayuk, CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, George Kittle. I think Purdy still can be played. It doesn't move me off any players in this game, but this is the only weather really to be aware of today. There's no other concerning weather today. Almost every other game that has any concerning weather is playing in a dome today. Hey, Sam, how do you feel about trading away Alvin Kamara, Waddle, and Christian Kirk? I don't like it off the start. I didn't even see who you're getting. But Alvin Kamara, top 5 running back rest of the season right now in PPR leagues. Waddle, top 20 wide receiver at worst in PPR. Christian Kirk's obviously balling. Garrett Wilson, Mixon, Hollywood Zay, Michael Wilson PPR, Madison, Eckler, T. Myers also on my team. Yeah, don't trade away Kamara. I would definitely prefer Kamara over Mixon here. And Waddle versus Garrett Wilson, I think, is pretty close too, with Zach Wilson starting. I don't love it. I definitely don't love it. All right. We're going to get back to the comment section here. We got a London time game going on right now. I believe the Jaguars, they're up 11-0, I believe, in this game. Let me pull up some of the stats here. And Dawson Knox gets a catch for like literally 0 yards. Trevor Lawrence, 7 for 10, 101 yards and a touchdown. Etienne has got 6 carries, 16 yards. Christian Kirk, 2 catches, 50 yards. Calvin Ridley has a catch for 14 yards and a rush. 2 carries actually for 14 yards for Ridley. And for the Bills, Dalton Kincaid does have at least 1 catch. That's good to see. But the Bills offense has done nothing. Wow, 23 passing yards. That's it for Josh Allen. James Cook and Damian Harris have 6 yards. This offense has less than 30 yards. The Bills offense has less than 30 yards in this game in Jacksonville, essentially in London, which is a home field for Jacksonville. All right, Puka or Devontae Smith or Achane, full PPR pick 2. Yeah, this is a tough call. I think it's the first 2 over Achane, but it's definitely really close. And Achane over Puka is probably fine. Honestly, it's probably Devontae Smith and Achane over Puka Nacua. I do have Devontae Smith over Puka Nacua, and yeah, Achane's my number 10 running back. Achane and Devontae Smith over Puka is fine. I do like Puka a lot still, though, this week. Achane, Kamara, and Breece Hall. You got to bench Achane in this one. You have to start Alvin Kamara. You have to start Breece Hall. Sam, I received 2 trades. Thoughts on both Ayuk for Swift and or Puka for Henry? I think I like the Puka one the most. If you're giving away Puka and getting Henry, that feels pretty reasonable for me with Cooper Kupp returning. CMC or Mostert? Got to start CMC for sure. Is James Cook good? Yeah, he's good, but he also is struggling so far. And this was maybe not the best game environment for him overall. We have seen kind of interesting usage for James Cook. Like last week, I think his usage went down, but he started to see goal line carries. Before that, his usage was great, but he was seeing no goal line carries. Feels like the ceiling is a little bit capped for James Cook, even though he is a very talented player on a good offense. Aaron Jones or Miles Sanders? Yeah, I'm going Aaron Jones over Miles Sanders this week. Thielen or Pittman? It's Pittman over Thielen. I do like both a lot. Do you like getting Zay Flowers for just Christian Kirk straight up PPR leagues? I think it's fair, Zach. I think you could probably get a little bit more on your side here. Christian Kirk has been better than Zay Flowers so far. Why are we sitting Debo? Same reason we were sitting Debo last week. I don't think Debo's as much of a must bench as he was last week. But it's just he's not 100%. Deebo Samuel is not at 100%. He's just not. And that's what we saw last week. He had 0 targets. He was running entirely decoy routes. He was out there just to steal attention away from the defense. I don't think it'll be that bad this week with another week to heal up from his injuries. But yeah, he's definitely a risk. Breece Hall or Aaron Jones? It's got to be Breece Hall over Aaron Jones. Madison or Breida? It's got to be Breida over Madison. I want nothing to do with Alexander Madison. I am very concerned about the Cam Akers role. And it's not a good matchup for Madison against the Chiefs either. The Chiefs have been relatively good against running backs. Let me pull up the numbers here for the Chiefs against running backs. They've given up the 7th fewest points to running backs. And now you're going to start Alexander Madison against them when Cam Akers' role is increasing steadily. Yeah, no thanks. Do I start Pirine? Yeah, I like Pirine more than I like McLaughlin. I don't really like either of them overall, though. And yeah, you got to start Waddle over Nico Elmer. Thanks for the gifts in the TikTok live. I do appreciate that. Guys, shout out to everybody in this live stream right now. I love these Sunday morning lives. This is one of my favorite things to do. I'm truly, it's like a dream come true that I get to say this is part of my job every week, these live streams. I look forward to these all week. And just thank you so much to everyone that's tuned in. I seriously do appreciate it. And the best way, guys, you can support me, as always, check out the WalterPicks app. It's free. Toss us a 5-star review in the App Store. That helps us out a ton. Takes you like 2 seconds. It's going to help you with all the questions I can't get to and the questions I can get to. The WalterPicks app is going to help you. Link is in the TikTok bio for that and the YouTube description. Kyron Williams got to be started over Tank Dell today. Devonta Smith got to be started over Zay Flowers. I have Achane, I think, one spot ahead of Mostert, but it's back-to-back, man. It's close. I would go Achane over Mostert. That's what it's been the last 2 weeks, but it's definitely close. D-Hop or Tank Dell, it's got to be D-Hop this week. Do you guys need any devs? Email sam@walterpicks.com if you're looking for a role on the dev team at WalterPicks. We aren't hiring right now, but I can add you to our list, our prospective database if you are interested. All right, do I start Puka, Cup, or Devonta Smith? Also, do I start Jacobs, Achane, or Hall? Yeah, these are all really good options here, Ethan. And I'm starting Cooper Cup over Puka. I'm starting Devonta Smith over Puka too. I do still really like Puka this week, though. And I don't even think starting Puka and Cup is that bad of a play. The Eagles are a pass funnel defense. Their defensive line is elite, maybe the best in the league, but they have not been good against receivers. And because their offense is so good, teams are forced to throw against them. That's really good news for Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp this week. Matthew Stafford leads the league in passing attempts. He's third or second in the league in passing yards, but he's 25th. He only has 3 touchdowns, 25th in touchdowns. The touchdowns are coming, man, from Matt Stafford. I even think a Matt Stafford DFS lineup is a really interesting play today, stacked with Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp. Should I start or sit George Pickens? There's 2 sides, Corey. There's 2 sides to every start-sit decision. So you got to give me the other side of the start-sit decision because George Pickens is a fine start today. He's definitely in the mix for starting lineups today against the Ravens. He's the clear top option for the Steelers. Today, there's no Pat Freiermuth for the Steelers. Today, there's no Deontay Johnson for the Steelers. Today, you got to think George Pickens leads this team in targets this week. So he definitely is playable. Good morning, Sam. Good morning to you, Mark. It's not morning for me because I'm on London time this morning. We got a game going on right now. I've been up for like 4 hours at this point because I woke up on London time this morning. But good morning to you if you aren't on London time this morning. Mostert, Hall, JT, Ayuk, and Lamar Cousins. Yeah, it's Lamar for me over Cousins. I could see the argument for Cousins over Lamar, but with what we saw Lamar do against such a good defense last week, it's just giving me so much confidence to play Lamar every week now. Basically, moving forward, I got so much confidence in Lamar to do better against a bad Steelers defense than he did against a good Browns defense. 4 touchdowns last week for Lamar. So yeah, start Lamar over Cousins in my opinion, but Cousins is definitely a good option in who I'm going with in my DraftKings lineup this week. And then Mostert, Hall, JT, Ayuk. Yeah, I'm playing Hall and Mostert over JT and Ayuk. I think the move here is Mostert and Hall. Breida or Taylor. Yeah, I'm going JT over Matt Breida. So let's talk about JT for a second. I've seen a lot of JT questions, and let me see if I can pull one up here in the YouTube live as I talk through the Jonathan Taylor stuff. Because he's definitely one of the tougher start sits this week. I'll pull the running back rankings here on the YouTube live as I talk through this. And there's a JT question up on the screen actually already on the YouTube live. So Jonathan Taylor, guys, he's back. He got an extension, which is great for him. Good for Jonathan Taylor. He's going to be playing this week. But there has been multiple reports already that Jonathan Taylor is not going to be like sped up into his full role immediately. They're going to be cautious with Jonathan Taylor, who they just gave a huge contract to. They don't want Jonathan Taylor to get injured. So I think 60% maybe of the work in the backfield, 50%, maybe even 40% goes to JT today. That's why he's on the must bench list. But there's still a lot of guys I would play Jonathan Taylor over. Here's some running backs I'm playing Jonathan Taylor over, for example. I'm playing Jonathan Taylor over Zach Moss. I'm playing Jonathan Taylor over Matt Breida. I'm playing Jonathan Taylor over Alexander Madison. I'm playing Jonathan Taylor over Jaleel McLaughlin. I'm playing Jonathan Taylor over Najee Harris, Javonte Williams. Jonathan Taylor, he is startable this week, but in a lot of spots, I would prefer to bench him as he is not going to see his full workload. Hey, Sam. Jenna, how we doing? Pick one. Zay Flowers, Nico Collins, Marquise Brown, PPR League. Yeah, this one's pretty close, Jenna. I think that I'll pull up the wide receiver rankings here. I like all three of these guys. I think in this order, it's really between Zay Flowers and Nico for me. Marquise Brown's been great. Let's do this comparison from the WalterPicks app too. I'm interested to compare these guys side by side. And again, if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, come to the YouTube live. I'm telling you, it's a better viewing experience. There's nothing really different, hearing the same thing on the TikTok live and the YouTube live, but on the YouTube live, I can pull up your comments on screen. I can share my screen on the YouTube live, and on the bottom of the screen on the YouTube live, in my top 25 rankings, every position. And I have 37 running backs in my top 25 running backs this week. All right, so we got Zay Flowers. I think this is a good one to compare because I've seen a lot of questions with all three of these guys this week. And Nico Collins is a tough one every week with what we've seen him do so far this season. Okay, Nico, Zay, and Marquise Brown. All three of these guys have had good weeks throughout the season. So all three of them are definitely in play. And Zay Flowers ranks the best here in the Walter Picks app. Zay Flowers also has just by far the best matchup among these guys. The Steelers are the second worst team against receivers this season. I'm starting Jalen Waddle over Zay Flowers, seeing that one in the TikTok live. But I'm starting Zay Flowers over Nico Collins. And I'm starting Zay Flowers over Marquise Brown. And man, yeah, this Nico one is, oh gosh, yeah, Nico, look at these numbers here from Nico. He's the wide receiver 7 this season. We look at the numbers last week, and it's going to make me change my mind here, I feel like. 36 bomb for Nico Collins. He's been a top 5 wide receiver in 2 of his last 3 games now. The matchup's not as good for him this week. The Falcons do play a lot of man coverage, which I do think is good for Nico Collins. Yeah, I personally lean Zay over Nico still, but it's definitely close. And I played them both over Marquise Brown. I honestly, God, I kind of want to change my answer here to Nico. Let me pull up the running back ranks here and see where Nico Collins is at. Yeah, I'm going to put Nico one spot ahead of Zay. I think he even needs to be moved up a little bit further than that based on his numbers. The ceiling is really, really high for Nico Collins. And I think I'm updating the receiver rankings here on the YouTube live. I changed my mind here, Jenna. I just talked myself in a loop here, but it's Nico Collins over Zay Flowers. I got to stop telling so many people to bench Nico Collins, just looking at these numbers. And let's just keep scrolling down here in this comparison and look at some of these receiving stats. Yards per game. I mean, it's not even close. Nico Collins averaging over 100 yards per game now. He's scoring way more touchdowns. The routes, interestingly, lean Marquise Brown way. Pretty similar route numbers here. Target numbers pretty similar. The air yards, which I really, really care about, lean Nico Collins way. Zay Flowers, interestingly, has the highest target share here, which I think is why he's projecting better from Walter. But yeah, Nico Collins over Zay Flowers for me is fine. I like both guys this week. It's a really tough call. Hey, Sam, Stroud or Danny Dimes? Yeah, it's God, it really should be Stroud over Danny Dimes. But the rushing for Danny Dimes, the matchup for Danny Dimes are both better this week. They're both better this week. But yeah, I think it is Stroud. I think it is Stroud over Daniel Jones. And I'm actually going to adjust this here too in the live stream. I got Daniel Jones now at QB 12. I think that is a more reasonable ranking for him. Sorry, he's at QB 11 now. And yeah, I would play Stroud over Daniel Jones. Hey, Sam, Mixon or Thielen or Collins? It's Mixon. Yep, it's Mixon, and then it's Thielen, and then it's Collins. Let me pull the QB ranks here again on the YouTube live. God, I actually have Collins at one spot ahead of Thielen now. So it's Mixon, then it's Collins, then it's Thielen. Really tough wide receiver decisions, I think, this week. Brees or Swift? It's Brees over Swift. Pittman or Collins? It's Pittman for me still over Collins. Yes, start Tony Pollard for sure. Definitely play George Pickens versus Tank Dell. That one's pretty close. Let's compare those two guys on the YouTube live. I've seen a decent amount of Pickens. A lot of Tank Dell questions, honestly, today, too. And I think Tank Dell does still have a really intriguing ceiling today for sure. Let's do Tank Dell versus George Pickens here on the YouTube live. And it's Pickens over Tank Dell. The matchup's a little bit better for Tank. I think the ceiling, you could argue, maybe is a little bit better for Tank. But there's no Pat Frymuth, no Deontay Johnson today. Yeah, it's George Pickens over Tank Dell this week. Judy or Dell? Oh, God, I'm nervous for Judy and Cortland Sutton this week. Definitely a tough matchup against the Jets defense. But it's got to be Judy over Dell still. I'm playing Tank Dell over Matthew Breida, too. Hey, Sam, must win for me today, Burrow or Stafford. It's Stafford over Burrow. Start Stafford with, I think, a lot of confidence today. It's a pass funnel defense for the Eagles. I have Kupp, Waddle, and Garrett. That's great. Yeah, I'm starting Kupp, I think, and Waddle over Garrett Wilson, but I like all three a lot. I have Mixon, Puka, Kupp, Kyren, Waddle, and Achane. Who do I bench? I have Olave too. God, yeah, you have the whole Rams. You have the whole Rams offense: Puka, Kupp, and Kyren, Waddle, and Achane. Who do I bench? Yeah, if you have to bench one of these guys, I think you're benching Kyren. I'm playing Achane over Kyren, but they're really close in my rankings, and I don't want to bench Puka or Kupp. I think Kyren versus Puka is a really interesting one, but the secondary is the part of the defense you want to be attacking for the Eagles. So yeah, I'm going Puka over Kyren this week, and I think you got to bench Kyren in this spot and not Waddle. Dobbs or Pickens. I do like Romeo Dobbs a lot this week. Romeo Dobbs feels like a pretty slept-on receiver to start the season. I know Christian Watson's returning, and Pickens maybe does project better here than Dobbs. It is Pickens over Dobbs. But yeah, I just want to put some respect on Romeo Dobbs. And he had a huge game last week. He's now had Romeo Dobbs has had 3 games over 18 points in his 4 games to start the season. He has 25 targets in his last 2 games. Doesn't feel like a guy many people are talking about. I still think Pickens over Dobbs is fine. And I have that here in my rankings. They're actually much closer in my rankings than Walter's rankings. Both the wide receiver rankings again on the YouTube live. Again, link to that's right in the TikTok bio. You got to play Lamar, guys, every single week now. Lamar's in the you have to start every week now category. He's up there now with Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts. And then it's Lamar for me. I think it's going to be my rankings basically every single week at quarterback is some order of those 4 guys. I think Lamar earned his spot in that top 4 last week against the best defense in the league, or at least a top 5 defense in the league against the Browns. He scored 4 touchdowns. He dropped a 30 bomb against the Browns. No, that's more combined points that the quarterback scored against the Browns in the first 3 games combined. They didn't play the best QBs, but yeah, you got to be starting Lamar every week. I think after last week, I don't know how you could be benching Lamar after last week. Ramondre or Breida? People are so down bad on Mondre. I do want to let's pull up the Mondre game logs here. I would play Mondre over Breida. That's my gut reaction to this question, and I have a feeling I'm not going to be talked out of that one. Mondre Stevenson, there was this report, by the way, during the live stream last week, which I cannot stand reports like this that end up being entirely wrong. There's a report like around this time, maybe an hour from now, last week, Zeke Elliott is going to see the starter reps for the Patriots from Ian Rappaport, someone that we really trust when he reports things, and it's just completely incorrect. Mondre, 64% snap percentage, did start the game, did see more touches and targets than Zeke last week. He had 2 catches last week, though. Really, the receiving role has been a bit disappointing for Mondre. Ultimately, the Pats are going to have to sustain drives for Mondre to be valuable in fantasy. And yeah, I still think I lean Mondre over Breida, but it is maybe a little closer than I would want it to be. But yeah, it's still Mondre over Breida, in my opinion. Julian McLaughlin or Pirine? Yeah, so I honestly lean Pirine over McLaughlin. McLaughlin's looks better. He's got more explosiveness. Pirine's played more, though. And I think Pirine's the more trusted guy overall. I don't want to start either of them, though, to be honest, because they're going to cannibalize each other's workloads. Like, neither of these guys, I don't think, are high floor plays. I think there's really, really low floor plays. And what is the real ceiling? Like, I think maybe McLaughlin's ceiling is higher. I think the floor maybe for Pirine's a little bit higher, which is why I'm leaning Pirine in his question. I think Walter has Julian McLaughlin like a tiny bit ahead of Pirine. I want nothing to do with either of these guys, though. And I don't think Javonte Williams has even been officially ruled out yet. Hey, Sam, why do you rank Goddard so high after his disappointing games? And do you think I should start Ferguson over him if I'm looking for upside? Yeah, so I still have Goddard ranked pretty high. And I do think Goddard will bounce back. I'm also buying into a little bit of the coach speak there, where they continue to say Darren Waller is going to be a big part of this offense. And we've seen Darren Waller be out there basically every single snap. Let's compare Goddard here to Ferguson. And I assume the numbers for Ferguson so far this season have been better. But let's pull up the game logs first for Goddard really quickly. He's not coming off the field. He's running a route on basically every single passing attempt for the Eagles. This is Dallas Goedert. And he's had a bad season. He doesn't have a game over 10 points yet. But this is also the best matchup he's had. He's played pretty good defenses against tight ends. He has. And really three defenses in the top 6 defenses against tight ends is who Goddard has played in his 4 games. And the Rams have not been great against tight ends this season. This game's projected to be pretty high scoring. I do think that the Rams offense will be able to keep up in this game. I think they'll be able to throw against the Eagles. And you just look back to last year and like Goddard didn't have very many games under 10 points last season. It's the same Dallas Goedert. It's a very similar offense. So yeah, I'm still in on Goddard over Jake Ferguson. And yeah, it's a better matchup for Goddard this week than it is Jake Ferguson. And yeah, Jake Ferguson just crushing him in all the stats. Let's see if the boom percentage is higher for Ferguson, and it's not. Yeah, it's Goddard over Ferguson for me. And yeah, Ferguson's having a better season in all the stats that really count here. A little less air yards, but the target share is better for Ferguson. The routes per game, not even close though here in Goddard's favor. I'm leaning Goddard over him. It's maybe a higher ceiling for Ferguson. I think the floor is much better for Goddard still. And I think their ceilings, I would argue Goddard's ceiling is higher still. Morning, Sam. Do I start Sutton or Hopkins in PPR? Got to be DeAndre Hopkins over Courtland Sutton this week for sure. Hopkins over Sutton. Not a good matchup for Sutton this week against the Jets. Hey, Sam, start Lamar or A-Rich? Got both, and it's hard to pick between them. Let's do this comparison, Connor, because, I mean, insert the Spider-Man meme here with, the two Spider-Mans pointing at each other. Lamar, Anthony Richardson. I believe the two best rushing QBs to start the season. And Walter has Richardson ranked higher this week. I have Lamar ranked higher than Richardson. It's a tough call, man, because they're both doing so well on the ground. And both guys projecting just so similarly. I personally lean Lamar over Richardson. A slightly better matchup for Lamar than Richardson. And again, we saw Lamar ball out against what I think is the best defense in the league last week against the Browns. He scored 4 touchdowns last week. If Lamar can score 28 fantasy points against the Browns, he can score 28 plus fantasy points against anybody, in my opinion. The Browns now rank 5th defense against quarterbacks after last week. But the Steelers are much, much worse defense than the Browns are, for sure. And I just want to compare these rushing stats here. And really, Lamar is the best rushing QB again this year. Lamar's, I think, are already, I've said this, I think maybe 2 straight years now. This might be the 3rd year I'm saying this. And I feel even more strongly about it now than I did like 2 or 3 years ago when I was already saying it. But guys, Lamar's the best rushing quarterback of all time. And if we're just talking about the rushing numbers, and I get the Mike Vick people, not in my era, Mike Vick people, different NFL. If Mike Vick played today, whatever, Mike Vick may be a better passer. Yeah, the rushing numbers are not even close. Lamar already has more 100-yard rushing games than Michael Vick. He already has more 1,000-yard seasons on the ground than Michael Vick. Lamar is just insane. He is the best rushing quarterback of all time. And when you stack up these numbers against Anthony Richardson, you got to be pretty excited for Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson averaging more yards per carry, not that many less yards per game. These are the top 2 games in rushing, top 2 QBs in rushing yards per game. These are the QBs you should have been drafting: Lamar Jackson and Anthony Richardson. I'm going Lamar over A-Rich. But yeah, super, super tough call. I think it's close for sure. And both guys are really, really, really good assets right now in fantasy because rushing is overpowered in fantasy football. The Bills trying to do something at the end of the half here, and Steph Diggs finally does get involved. Hey, Sam, do I do this trade? Godwin, my wide receiver 5, and Kelsey for Brees, and Hawkinson and Fields have Sam Howell right now. Yeah, your wide receiver 5. I don't mind giving up Godwin. I definitely don't love giving up Kelsey. Hawkinson is tight end 2 or tight end 3 right behind him, and or Andrews. It's a pretty fair trade. I do like getting Brees, especially if you need a running back, and I do definitely like Fields more than Sam Howell. I'll start 2, Tank Dell, Rashee Rice, or Courtland Sutton. Also Kittle or Ertz, and Purdy or Goff. I'm starting Tank Dell, and I'm definitely starting Tank Dell over Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice is definitely an interesting deep flex play today. I have Rashee Rice. Yeah, actually, in my rankings here, I'll pull up the wide receiver rankings. I have Tank Dell, Sutton, and Rashee Rice back to back to back. So I have Sutton and Tank Dell still ahead of Rashee Rice. I do think the ceiling's intriguing for Rashee Rice, but I don't think the ceiling is like that much different than the ceiling for Dell and Sutton. And I am playing Kittle over Ertz. Hey, Sam, tough scene on my bench. Yeah, you're not alone here this week, Jared. Do I put Sanders or Michael Thomas in the flex? Hey, it's Michael Thomas over Sanders. Stevenson or Taylor? I still think I lean. That one's really close. Like that's right around the line. I think with JT, I think I lean Mondre still over JT just this week with the workload expected there. You cannot start Dak Moss this week. Madison's a bench because Cam Akers is going to continue to see work. I think more work than he saw in the last game. And it's a really bad matchup. The Chiefs are a top 10 defense against running back so far this season. Don't feel good at all about Alexander Madison today. Okay. This game, I think, is about to go into – there's actually a little bit more time than I realized in this game. About 8 minutes left in the half. The Bills have done nothing, absolutely nothing offensively. I think they still have under 100 total yards on offense. Yeah, they have they barely have more than 50 total yards in the first half against the Jaguars so far in this game. Bad start all around, and they're punting here. Yikes. Big yikes for Josh Allen. Hey, Sam, need help. Pick 2, Swift, Breece Hall, and Achane. I'm thinking Hall and Swift, but I don't know. I think it's Hall and Achane over Swift. That's what I would do. The Eagles get the Rams today. Obviously, Swift has been great. The Rams are allowing the 9th fewest points to running backs this season. They did play 3 really good running backs too. McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker all played this defense, and they still rank number 9 against running backs. That makes me think they're probably even better than number 9. I'm okay benching Swift here for Breece Hall and Achane. Is the Kincaid prop cooked? I think it was a reception prop, if I recall correctly. So no, I don't think the reception props are ever really like fully cooked. And Kincaid, he only has 1 catch so far. I haven't seen him out there, I feel like, that much. Let's see exactly what the Kincaid prop was. I think it was over 3.5, 2.5 receptions. Maybe we had it at. I think 3.5 receptions was the line this morning, though. And definitely not looking great. He's never looking great when Dawson Knox is getting targets. And yeah, the Kincaid prop we posted earlier. Yeah, it's 3.5 receptions. And he's got 1, so he needs 3 more. Not great for Dalton Kincaid, but the Bills are losing, so they're going to have to throw a lot for sure. Best player prop. Yeah, let me get to the player prop of the day. It's Breece Hall. It's Breece Hall. This feels like it's a little too easy. Is Saquon confirmed out? Yeah, he's doubtful, and I've never seen a doubtful player ever play. Saquon is confirmed out. As close to confirmed out you can be without officially being confirmed out for Saquon. Breece Hall over 59.5 rushing yards, guys. Lock this one in with a lot of confidence. We are 7-2 on these live streams. That is over 70% on the free player props on this live stream so far this season. I've given out 1 free prop every single live, Thursday night and Sunday morning. We cashed on Sam Howell's rushing prop on Thursday night. We cashed on the DJ Moore props too, if you took those from the live stream as well. And today we're going Breece Hall over 59.5 rushing yards. He gets a ideal matchup. There's not a more ideal matchup for Breece Hall today than against the Denver Broncos, who have a historically bad defense. Guys, they allowed so many rushing yards this season. Brian Robinson has gone over this line against the Broncos. We've seen Achane, Mostert both crush this line against the Broncos. We've seen Chris Brooks beat this line against the Broncos. And if you're saying, who is Chris Brooks? You're not alone. And yeah, he did have 66 rushing yards against the Broncos. And then Khalil Herbert went for over 100 yards against the Broncos too. Fire up Breece Hall over 59.5 rushing yards. I'm honestly surprised this line hasn't moved more than it has. I think this line should be closer to like 69.5 this week. Yo, Sam, good morning. Good morning to you. We are in London time this morning. So it's good afternoon to you today because we are in London time. Do I trade Kyren and Waddle for Bijan? Yeah, do that. 100%. I think if you can get the 3 running backs that I think have just so much value in fantasy right now, it is Christian McCaffrey, it is Bijan Robinson, and it's Tony Pollard. Like these 3 guys, there's just not many running backs that are in that tier of guys. And McCaffrey's probably in a tier of his own. But Bijan and Pollard, to me, still, Pollard's in that list. I know he struggled a little bit in the last couple of games. But yeah, Bijan, go get him. In PPR, like he's just such a safe asset, such a high ceiling. Bijan was a fantastic fantasy pick. All these people talking you out of the Bijan Robinson pick because the Falcons are going to ease him in. They don't want to give too big of a workload to their first overall pick. Well, the Falcons last year were the most efficient rushing attack in the league with Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson. He doesn't need to get 30 touches. Bijan does not need 30 touches to smash in fantasy. He's going to be a top 5 running back in PPR almost definitely if he stays healthy. And the workload still can go up too for him. So yeah, I'm definitely in on Bijan Robinson to like that trade. Hey, Sam, hope you're great, man. Hope you are great as well. Hope all of you are great. Shout out to everyone in this live. You're watching this live with me as we probably are all watching the Jaguars game too. Jaguars really beating up on the Bills right now. Kamara and Breece in for running backs and Zay Flowers and Nico Collins for flexes. Should I put Achane in for either of those? Yeah, so I would play Achane over Flowers and Nico today. I think that I would put him. I would not put Achane in for Breece or Kamara though, but I would put him in for Flowers and Nico if those are their flexes. Another league, D-Hop or Ayuk. Yeah, that's definitely a pretty close and tough call too. Today, I do think I have Ayuk a little bit ahead of Debo. And yeah, I do. And maybe, honestly, the Weatherman Sam Report today, maybe we'll change your opinion on this a little bit. But the only game with concerning weather today, it is the 49ers-Cowboys game tonight. 17-mile-an-hour sustained winds. That means we probably will see wind gusts over the concerning 25-mile-an-hour threshold today. No other game has concern. And I think we will see some rain in that 49ers-Cowboys game too. So that might move you off of off of Ayuk instead of Hopkins a little bit. But yeah, I still like Ayuk more than Hopkins with all that considered. The wind is not so terrible that I'm like full panicked about that weather game, but it is the one game to be aware of weather-wise today. Sam, I have Dak, but I'm looking to upgrade. I have T. Higgins, Ayuk, Amari Cooper, and Garrett Wilson. He's willing to take one of them for Tua. Who should I trade? Probably T. Higgins. You should probably trade T. Higgins and get Tua. I like that trade for you, Andrew. I think that makes a lot of sense given your team. I need a running back and flex. Taylor, Madison, Pittman, Thielen, Zay Flowers, and Judy. Yeah, so I'm playing Taylor over Madison. I don't want Alexander Madison starting for me today, like at all. I definitely not. Cam Akers is going to play. I think he's going to play more than he did last week. Let's pull up the Cam Akers game logs really quick. Cam Akers, he honestly played a little bit more than I expected. And it has me pretty concerned for Alexander Madison. In his first game, this is Cam Akers' first game last week with the Vikings. He played 30% of the snaps. And I think that's going to go up. I only think that is going to go up. Because he did pretty well when he was out there. 8 yards per carry. He had two targets too. I think Akers is a real threat to steal goal line touches and targets away from Madison. And then on top of that, you look at the matchup today. The Chiefs are the number 7 defense against running backs this season. No running backs have really had big games against the Chiefs. I'm definitely benching Madison. I'm starting Jonathan Taylor over him. And I'm benching JT in a bunch of spots, but definitely not benching JT for Alexander Madison. And then Pittman, Thielen, Zay Flowers, and Judy. Yeah, I think you go Pittman and Thielen. I think it's Pittman and Thielen. I think I have Thielen ahead of Zay Flowers here in my wide receiver rankings, which are up on the screen now. Let me pull up my picks against the spread here on the YouTube Live again. What's the word with Debo? Yeah, so I have Debo on the must-bench list again this week, but I do want to add context there for the TikTok Live people because Debo was a great must-bench last week. He's probably one of the best must-benches I've had this season. He completely busted. He had no targets. And the reason he's on the must-bench list again is the same reason he was there last week. He's just not at 100% health. Debo is not fully healthy. He isn't. He is more healthy than last week, though. I feel pretty confident in saying that, which is why he's definitely not as much of a must-bench as he was last week. But yeah, I still am pretty nervous about Debo, and I would be looking for other options if you can. Ayuk is great. I think Ayuk is a good start this week. Okay, someone asked for the free player prop and Max. Yeah, we've been absolutely cashing the free player props. And also, guys, if you haven't played on Sleeper yet, the Pick'em game, you got to deposit on Sleeper. If you haven't yet, you'll get a 100% deposit match. They're matching. They have so many discounts every week. Like they discounted the DJ Moore prop on Thursday night. Like, thank you for the free money there from Sleeper. Use code Walter. If you never deposited on Sleeper before, you get 100% deposit match. It does help me out a ton. You can literally deposit $10. You'll get another free $10. And then you also just play the discounts. Take the Breece Hall prop, though. That's the prop of the day. Breece Hall over 59.5 rushing yards. This is where Sleeper has it. This is where most of the sportsbooks have it. I think this line should be at least 10 yards higher. The Broncos have been crushed by running backs. They are, I think, the worst defense in the league. I usually don't make statements like that this early into the season. But, guys, the Broncos are abysmal. They let Brian Robinson go for over 85 rushing yards. They let Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane go for over 80 rushing yards each. They went Chris Brooks, who none of you know of, and I did not know of until this game. Chris Brooks, who was the backup to Salvin Ahmed for the Dolphins, he had 66 rushing yards against the Broncos. Khalil Herbert went for 103 rushing yards against the Broncos. Start Breece Hall this week, and yeah, I like the Breece Hall prop over 59.5 rushing yards. I think he's got a pretty good shot to go over 100 rushing yards today against the Broncos, and supposedly no more snap limit for Breece Hall. Hey, Sam, please pick 2. Devontae Smith, Nico Collins, Puka Nacua. Stroud is my QB. Yeah, even though Stroud's your QB, I still think Devontae Smith and Puka Nacua are better options than Nico Collins this week. Why no Julian McLaughlin? Julian McLaughlin is the trap of the week because Piron's played more than him this season. And Javonte Williams has not even been officially ruled out yet, as far as I've seen. Let me refresh here the news. Let's see if we got any additional news here. I think the Bills are going to lose this game, guys. They lost 2 really key defensive players. The Bills defense now has lost 3 key defensive players in the last 3 quarters, going back to last week. The Bills have 54 total yards of offense. And Calvin Ridley kind of disappearing here again in the first half. Christian Kirk stealing the show a little bit. And if I pull up the stats here, I think Ridley only has 1 catch still in this game. Yeah, he does. 1 catch, 14 yards. Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, all having better receiving days than him. He did have 2 carries for 14 yards. But yeah, definitely a slow start here again for Ridley in this game. And the target share is starting to get pretty concerning for Ridley. Let me pull up the DFS lineup here for you today. I am stacking Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. One thing to call out about this DraftKings lineup that I would change and tinker with, I think, as you guys build off of this lineup. I don't really love the Monty and Laporta stack. I would probably move off of Laporta instead of Montgomery. You got to start Montgomery, guys. In every single situation, you're starting David Montgomery this week. 100%. He's my number 3 running back this week. And I think Walter has him at number 2. I mean, he could easily, he should lead all running backs in carries today. I mean, we saw him go 32 carries last week. That's the most we've seen any running back get this season. There's only like 1 or 2 running backs that could get over 30 carries today, and David Montgomery's one. I'm also, the other thing I would maybe tinker here with this lineup is I don't love stacking Breece Hall with Garrett Wilson. I like both of them a lot today. I think I would move off Garrett Wilson instead of Breece, but I don't love stacking those two guys. And I'm playing the Giants defense. I like paying down for defenses in general in tournaments, even though the Giants are playing the Dolphins, and they just need to get 1 touchdown really and can win tournaments for me. Okay. Good morning, Sam. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well as well, Andrew. Would you trade Dak and Kyron for AR-15? No, definitely not. Definitely not. Kyron Williams is much more valuable than any of the, I think Kyron Williams is more valuable than almost every quarterback outside like maybe the top 3 or 4. And AR's the QB3 so far this season, Anthony Richardson. But yeah, I still think Kyron is more valuable. You really think Kupp over Debo? Yeah, I definitely would go Kupp over Debo for sure. And Cooper Kupp, there's risk there. Don't get me wrong. Same reason there's risk with Jonathan Taylor, right? These guys haven't played yet this season. There's a pretty good story to tell of them not seeing their full workload this week. But Cooper Kupp gets a good matchup against the Eagles. Cooper Kupp was not limited at all in practice this week. And there's been no reports that Cooper Kupp's going to see like a much limited role this week. And Cooper Kupp, guys, number 1 wide receiver in points per game each of the last 2 years. I mean, you really got to be starting Kupp. Warren or Josh Reynolds in the flex. Thanks as always, Sam. If it's a PPR league, that one's pretty close. Honestly, I think I lean Josh Reynolds, though. I think the ceiling for Josh Reynolds is actually pretty high with the report that Jameson Williams is not going to see more than 20 snaps today. That's why Jameson Williams cannot be started. And no Amon-Ra St. Brown. Josh Reynolds is the best receiver for the Lions today after Laporta, and Montgomery's going to see a ton of work too. I love your content. Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate all of you guys in this live stream and appreciate all the positivity. Seriously, guys, both positivity and negativity, extremely contagious in life. This is a fact of life. Both of them are extremely contagious. I always appreciate positivity from all of you. Seriously, I'm about to go to work, so I'll have to stop watching. Andrew, working on Sunday, I can relate. Can you help me out? I got you. Pick 2, Stevenson, JT, Josh Reynolds, Jordan Addison. Yeah, it's Jordan Addison. And God, yeah, this last one is close. I've said Stevenson over JT already on this live. I think Josh Reynolds is an interesting option over those two in a PPR league. But I think I lean Stevenson and Addison here. Good morning, dude. Okay, so I have Mostert. Dude, you got Mostert, you got Wilson, you got Achane, you got Zay Flowers with 3 open spots. Also have Purdy on San Francisco. Okay. Yeah, you're benching Zay Flowers here. You got to start Mostert, start Garrett Wilson, start Achane. I actually really like starting Mostert and Achane. I think that's a really high floor, high ceiling play because the ceiling for like one of those guys is popping off today, at least one of them. So that's the ceiling and floor you're just locking in. Like you're locking in at least 20 points, I think, by starting both those guys. And I mean, we've seen them combine for like 90 points in a game. That was against the Broncos. They don't get to play the Broncos every week. Guys, your team doesn't get to play the Broncos every week. It just doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, I wish the Pats got to play the Broncos this week, but they don't. The Patriots get the Saints. They're 1.5 point favorites in this game, and the season's very much on the line. The season's honestly, I would say a little bit over for the Patriots, but definitely there's some time to turn it around. Mike Thomas or Jerry Jeudy. I go Mike Thomas over Jeudy today. Let me pull the wide receiver rankings here again on the YouTube live. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now, guys. And on the YouTube live, I get my top 25 rankings every position. Why start Breece? Because Breece plays the Broncos today, and there's no more snap count for Breece. Breece is my number 5 running back today. He's in my top 5. Jeudy versus Michael Thomas. I actually do have Jeudy ahead of Michael Thomas here in these rankings. I want to do this comparison and maybe rethink this one because my gut reaction here was Michael Thomas. Let's do this comparison live on the YouTube live. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, come to the YouTube live. Better viewing experience, just as free as the TikTok live. And I can pull up my comments on the screen on YouTube. I can share my screen on YouTube. And I can show you my top 25 rankings on YouTube, my picks against the spread on YouTube, all just constantly on the screen. All right. We're doing Michael Thomas. We're doing Jerry Jeudy. We're going to do this comparison. Let me pull up the running back rankings here as I talk through this one. And yeah, Walter agrees with me here on Jeudy. Man, look at the different curves here. Jeudy, much higher boom percentage, but the bust percentage is really similar. Definitely, we've seen this from Michael Thomas, honestly. This kind of makes sense. Looking at the game logs here from Michael Thomas, like he's just been kind of a steady 11 points. Like he has not deviated very much from 11 points. No touchdowns yet this season, though, from MT. I do kind of expect that to change today. I kind of like Michael Thomas to score a touchdown today against the Pats. The Pats secondary is completely crushed. I mean, this is a much better matchup from MT than it is Jerry Jeudy. MT's averaging more points than Jeudy. Jeudy, though, like has been kind of slowly scaling up. 70% snap share last week. Honestly, pretty disappointing start here for Jeudy. And I know he was dealing with an injury, and you could maybe chalk some of that up to that. But Judy's gone over a 20% target share, I think, in like 90% of his games last season. Hasn't hit that mark a single time this season. And then we compare MT here. And honestly, I think it's Michael Thomas over Judy. I think the matchup's better for Michael Thomas. I think the numbers honestly look a little bit better for Michael Thomas, and we're going to compare a little bit more of these numbers in a second. But I'm going to move Michael Thomas up here a bit in these rankings and put him ahead of. I'm actually going to put him right after Zay Flowers here, ahead of Christian Watson, and we are going to make these change live. Not going to suffer from take lock here. I do like Michael Thomas this week. I like Chris Olave. I like Michael Thomas this week. Let's continue doing looking at some of these stats here between these two guys. Looking at the receiving stats now, and yeah, more receptions per game for MT. Again, there's a little bit of an asterisk here for Judy because one of these games was his first game back of the hamstring injury. Like I do think Judy can grow into a larger and larger role than he's seen, but we haven't seen it yet. Neither of these guys have scored a touchdown. More routes for MT, more targets for MT, better target share for Michael Thomas. So yeah, it's Michael Thomas over Jerry Judy. And it's just a better matchup too for Michael Thomas this week. Swift or Waddle? It's Waddle over Swift, guys. It's absolutely Waddle over Swift. Start Waddle for sure. It's not a great matchup for Swift this week. The Rams have been pretty good against running backs, and they played good running backs. And Swift is definitely still a guy you can start. Like I'm not saying he's a must bench. Like a guy like Debo, who's not 100%. Javonte, not 100%. I don't want to be starting these guys that aren't 100% if I don't need to. But yeah, the Rams guys, they played Kenneth Walker, they played Christian McCaffrey, they played Joe Mixon, and they played Zach Moss. And they still rank giving up the 9th fewest points to running backs this season. And now they get DeAndre Swift, who's having a really good year. He has now 3 straight games with at least 14 points. But yeah, I'm pretty nervous overall for the running in this game. Like I think this could be a really, really pass-heavy game for both sides, the Rams and the Eagles. The Bills trying desperately to do something here, and they have gotten very few yards in this game. I think they maybe made a play on this drive. I can't tell if they're in or near the red zone. No, they're not even close. Oh yeah, they are in the red zone. They did hit a big play here on this drive. Kincaid still only 1 catch. Yikes. Big yikes for Kincaid so far in this game. Pretty big yikes too for Calvin Ridley so far. All right, morning, Sam. I have Ertz and Musgrave. Should I drop one for Waller? Yes, definitely drop either of these guys for Waller. I'd probably drop Musgrave for Waller. Waller should not be on the waiver wire. Absolutely not. And I'd start Waller over both those guys this week. Garrett Wilson, Tay Adams, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. Your team is stacked if you're choosing between these guys. I mean, some of these teams that I have with Cooper Kupp coming back, I mean, these teams are going to win leagues. Cooper Kupp, Jonathan Taylor, they're both going to win leagues. I think this year, if they can get back to anywhere near their old form, and get back to full health. But yeah, I'm starting Devontae Adams. I'm starting Cooper Kupp. And I think I go Puka Nacua over Garrett Wilson. It's pretty close. Actually, I have Garrett Wilson over Puka Nacua. I lied. You're starting these first 3 guys. I have Garrett Wilson 1 spot over Puka Nacua. I do really like Puka this week, but yeah, you can't be starting him over Garrett Wilson against the Broncos. Really, really good matchup for the Broncos. Jake, Sam, what's the prop of the day? Yeah, we've been cashing these props. I mean, left and right this season. We're 7-2 on the free player props this season. In the free player prop today, it is Breece Hall over 59.5 rushing yards. Guys, lock this one in. I'm surprised this one hasn't moved more than it has. There's been a report already in Diggs, touchdown, Bills in this game. You can't be letting Diggs get that open. We got a game here in London. I think it's 11-7 now, and pretty close now to halftime. There's a minute left here for the Jaguars to try to do something. But that was a huge, huge drive from the Bills. But guys, the Broncos have been crushed this season. The Broncos, in my opinion, clearly the worst defense in the league. And I know it's a little early to make that statement, but is it really when they have been just obliterated in every single game? They let up over guys, these are some of the running backs that have beaten this prop line against the Broncos this season. And tell me Breece Hall's not going over 60 rushing yards a day. We got Khalil Herbert, who went for 103 yards, by far the best game of his season. We have Chris Brooks, the 4th or 5th string running back on the Dolphins. He went for 66 yards against the Broncos. Guys, the Dolphins combined for over 320 rushing yards against the Broncos when they played. Brian Robinson smashed against the Broncos too, 87 rushing yards for him in that game. And just, yeah, start Breece Hall in all fantasy leagues. And I really like his rushing prop today too. That's a free prop pick of the day. Sam, Jake Ferguson or Goddard, Jameson Williams or Najee. Yeah, we were doing a Jake Ferguson versus Goddard comparison earlier in the live stream because this one's a pretty close one. And I get wanting to start Ferguson over Goddard. Ferguson's averaging more points than Goddard, but it's a better matchup for Goddard this week. And I'm buying into Goddard still being a pretty good option. And then I'm not starting Jameson Williams today. I don't think he can. He's already capped at 20 snaps. It's a weird situation because I want to like Jameson Williams. I want to be in on Jameson Williams. I think the talent is there for Jameson Williams. I still think the upside is like overall there for Jameson Williams, but the workload is not there for Jameson Williams, a guy that's going to be capped at 20 snaps. You want to start him in fantasy? Like, it's just weird because the Lions do really need an outside receiver. Jameson Williams was the 12th overall pick. He's still only 22 years old. He was an elite college prospect who ran a 94th percentile 40-yard dash. And the Lions desperately need someone on the outside. And there's no Amon-Ra St. Brown this week. But yeah, he's going to be capped at 20 snaps. And I think he had a single catch last year. He had 9 targets and I think 1 catch last year or something. I mean, just brutal stuff. You can't be starting Jameson Williams. The floor is 0 points for Jameson Williams. Sam Stafford, and the ceiling's just not that high if you're only going to play 20 snaps. So yeah, bench Jameson Williams this week, but I think he's a strong hold, honestly, for the rest of the season. You're starting CeeDee Lamb over Puka Nacua. I'm starting Pirine over Jaleel. I think I'm in a pretty much my own camp there. Most people I feel like are liking Jaleel more than Pirine. Walter in the WalterPicks app, the AI model that powers the WalterPicks app, likes Jaleel more than Pirine. But Pirine's just played more than Jaleel. And I feel better about him getting the goal line carries than Jaleel. Okay. Should I start Breece Hall or Kamara? Yes, I have both those guys ranked really high. I am playing Stafford over Stroud. Let me talk about Stafford for a second. But I am playing Breece over Alvin Kamara. It's super close, though. I have Breece at number 5 and Kamara at number 7. Both guys really need to be started. Do I start Michael Wilson or Debo? Yeah, I'm still starting Debo over Michael Wilson. Debo, Jonathan Taylor, they're on the must-bench list. They're like fringe must-benches, though. They're not like definite must-benches like they were, like Debo was last week. Okay, Sam, I need to decide flex Miles Sanders. Yeah, it's Miles Sanders over Jaleel. Jaleel's the trap of the week. And I want to talk about Matthew Stafford here for a second because the numbers for Matthew Stafford, pretty surprising when you really look at the numbers. And to me, like, he's really a must start this week in spots, in a lot of spots. I'm playing him over CJ Stroud, for example. Let's compare some of the Stroud versus Stafford numbers here on the YouTube live. Again, come to the YouTube live if you're watching live on TikTok, guys. I'm telling you, it's a better viewing experience. Link is right in the TikTok bio. If you are watching live on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. If you are going to stick on the TikTok live, hit the follow button. Breece over Achane. I'm going Breece over Achane this week, and I don't feel amazing about that. But yeah, I really like Breece this week. And a huge catch here from ETN, getting the Jaguars into field goal range. All right. Matthew Stafford, guys. The Eagles, they have a very good defense. But their strength of the defense is the defensive line. They actually have not been good against the pass. The Eagles ranked 27th against quarterbacks this season. They're allowing almost 21 points per game to quarterbacks this year. And part of the reason, too, here for the Eagles that they're such a pass funnel team, pass funnel defense, is the offense is really good. So the Rams are going to be losing. They're, I think, 4.5, 5.5 point underdogs in this game. They're going to be losing. The Eagles' offense is not going to be stopped, I don't think, by the Rams' defense. So the Rams are going to be forced to pass, and they're fine with that. Guys, look at these passing stats. Stafford, number 2 among all quarterbacks in passing yards per game. He's number 1 in passing attempts. He's number 2 in completions. And this is all without Cooper Kupp. And now Cooper Kupp returns this week in a plus matchup. I mean, Stafford's a good start this week. He's my number 9 quarterback this week, and I think he's a really, really good option. And Calvin Ridley, another catch for him. That's good to see for Ridley trying to increase that target share. I mean, I think that was his second catch of the game, and it looked like a pretty good catch here for Ridley. And the Jaguars, I think, might have a chance. I don't know. I can't see how much time is left in the game on my screen, but they're pretty close to the end zone. It looks like 39 seconds maybe and 1 timeout for the Jaguars. And they're up 11-7 and at least in field goal range now to end this half. JT or Madison? Yeah, I'm going JT. I want nothing to do with Madison. The running backs that I want nothing to do with this week. Alexander Madison, no thank you. Cam Akers played 30% of the snaps last week. I expect that to go up this week. And the Chiefs are a top 10 defense against running backs. Najee Harris just cannot be started right now. Jalen Warren's outscored him in PPR every single week so far this season. If Najee doesn't score a touchdown, he's going under 12 fantasy points almost automatically. I don't want anything to do with Jaleel McLaughlin because Samaje Perine is getting more work than him this season. He has been playing much more than Jaleel McLaughlin. And Calvin Ridley, did he just catch that? Someone tell me Calvin Ridley just got that. I am like half blocked here in what's going on. It looked like he easily could have been out there, though, with that catch. Someone in the comments, let me know. I can't see the replay. It looks like he stepped out, but I can't tell. It looks like he stepped out. I feel like Ridley's had so many almost touchdowns this season. And yeah, he stepped out. He definitely stepped out. That was not a touchdown. Judy or Addison? I'm leaning Judy over Addison. Addison's definitely an interesting play, though, this week. Much better matchup for Addison than Judy. Honestly, I kind of, like, after looking at some of these Stafford numbers, I kind of switched Stafford in for Kirk Cousins in my DraftKings lineup. All right, Judy versus Addison. Again, just to recap those numbers on Stafford and why he's a great play today. Stafford is number 1 in the league in passing attempts, number 2 in the league in passing yards. He's only 3 passing touchdowns, though. That's number 25. The touchdowns are going to come. Yards and passing attempts lead to touchdowns. And that was all without Cooper Kupp. And the Eagles have not been good stopping the pass this season. And yeah, it is Jeudy versus Addison. Jeudy over Addison here in the WalterPicks app too. But yeah, the matchups, neither matchup is great, I guess, here. I mean, the game script should be good, though, for the Vikings in this one. Addison has been better than Jeudy so far this year. We've seen a big boom game from Addison. Certainly, there's a really, really high ceiling from Addison. We've seen 2 games over 16 points. But yeah, I still think I lean Jeudy just slightly over Addison. I think the floor is a bit better for Jeudy. And man, yeah, so many almost touchdowns from Calvin Ridley this season. Absolutely tough. Pittman or Thielen? Yeah, I lean Pittman over Thielen. Why bench Taylor? So yeah, Taylor's a bench this week. Oh man, I think they might have fumbled that. That was a really bad play there from the Jaguars in the half. But Pittman is, for me, I'm playing him over Thielen, but it's definitely close. Stroud or Love? I got Stroud, I think, a tiny bit ahead of Love. And if you come to the YouTube live, you'll get my top 25 rankings every position. Link is right in the TikTok bio. I'm playing Kupp over Puka Nacua, but I like both of them a lot this week. I'm feeling pretty good about Marquise Brown overall. If we pull up the game logs for Marquise Brown, I don't know how you can't feel pretty good about Marquise and how he's starting this season with Josh Dobbs. I'm pretty excited for Kyler Murray to come back, man, in this offense. Let me get rid of the free player prop on the screen so we can get a little bit of view of the game logs here from Marquise. But yeah, I guess Marquise Brown has had at least 16 PPR points in 3 straight games now. He's had at least 7 targets in 3 straight games. He's had over 24% target share in 3 straight games. And yeah, really, really big mistake there from the Jaguars in the half. And all of a sudden it's only 11-7 going into halftime. Jaguars cannot feel great about that with how most of that first half went. I think let's just recap this first half here as they go into halftime. The Jacksonville Jaguars are up 11-7. We're on London time this morning. Trevor Lawrence, 192 yards and a touchdown. Pretty good half from him against the Bills. The Bills defense is really, really dealing with a lot of injuries. There is no Tre'Davious White. He's out for the season. They lost 2 other, I think Matt Milano and one of their starting defensive linemen got injured early in this game. The Bills defense might not end up being so good this season with all these injuries. In the first half, Christian Kirk leads the Jaguars in receiving. 4 catches, 63 yards. Ridley pretty far behind here. 2 catches, 30 yards. Only 5 points for Ridley in this first half. A pretty tough start for him. Etienne's having a pretty good game with 3 catches, 38 yards, 9 carries, 25 yards. It was Zay Jones, though, with a touchdown. 3 catches, 23 yards, and a TD for Zay Jones. And then on the Bills side of the ball, I mean, pretty abysmal half. Josh Allen turned it up a little bit in that last drive. 116 passing yards now for Josh Allen. He's leading the team in rushing. James Cook has 3 carries for -2 yards and 1 catch for 18. Rough start for James Cook. Gabe Davis, 3 catches, 28. Diggs, 4 catches, 39, and a TD. He's having a good game. And Kincaid is completely selling. Only 1 catch, 5 yards for Dalton Kincaid. All right. Injuries have absolutely nuked my lineup. You are certainly not alone, Xavier. I got a team out there. I have a team out there in one of my high-stakes leagues. I had Nick Chubb, Mike Williams, and I just traded for Jahmyr Gibbs right before his hamstring injury. I mean, we're just so down bad in some of these leagues with these injuries. Saquon, obviously, dealing with lots of injuries too. If you have him, I have Gibbs, St. Brown, Higgins, and Barth. Yeah, just brutal. None of which have been ruled out officially. So I can't pick anyone up. Yeah, I can't stand this. I think if you're listed as doubtful, you should be able to put these guys in the IR slots. Doubtful players do not play. I've never seen, in the 8 years of me covering fantasy football in the NFL, I've never seen a doubtful player play. Like, I just can't think of a single time. Doubtful just means out in the NFL. Like, it's so uncommon for doubtful players to end up playing. And yeah, it's tough when you can't put some of these guys in the IR, but they'll be in the IR soon. I think IR eligible soon. Sazam, McLaughlin or Matt Breida, and Dobbs or Judy. Happy PR. Yeah, I'm going Matt Breida over McLaughlin. I think Jaleel is the trap of the week. And Breida is pretty safe play, honestly, with Saquon out. Gary Brightwell, really not a threat to Matt Breida at all. He's playing on special teams. And then Dobbs or Judy. Yeah, I go Judy over Dobbs. I do like the matchup for Dobbs. I do worry a little bit about Christian Watson, getting back closer to full health and what that means for Dobbs. Dobbs has been great. But yeah, I lean Judy still over Dobbs. Warren or Moss? Yeah, it's got to be Warren over Moss. With JT back, you cannot be starting Zach Moss. And JT's not going to see a full workload, but you still can't start Zach Moss if he's going to lose half the carries. Kupp or Puka? It's Kupp over Puka, but you got to start both. Both guys are definitely good starts. Najee, Gus, or Watson for flex? It's Watson. Definitely here. It's Christian Watson over Najee and over Gus. I do not want to start Najee just in general. Hey, Sam, do you think I should start Ramondre or Pierce this week in a full PPR league? Let's do this comparison here because I think both guys have kind of tough matchups. And I get people being kind of panicked about Ramondre Stevenson. And for me, I'm not super panicked about the role. I'm more panicked just about the offense. Like, if this offense can't sustain drives, the Patriots, Ramondre is not going to be a very good fantasy asset And we've kind of seen a similar thing a little bit with Dameon Pierce. I mean, the thing for Dameon Pierce to call out and thing for the Texans to call out and why I really do like the Texans to beat the Falcons today, guys, the Texans, they have been playing with the worst offensive line in the league. There's not been an offensive line worse than the Texans. They have literally been playing a practice squad level offensive line. They had 4 offensive linemen starting offensive linemen injured, like basically the first 4 weeks, and they had backups injured too. So they were literally pulling guys off the street, off the practice squad, and throwing them into their offensive line. They have 2 of their starting offensive linemen returning for the first time, though, this week. So their offensive line is trending upwards for the Texans, and it can only really go upwards, with how bad they were. But it's still worth noting with how good the passing attack's been with no offensive line. You got to think it's even a little bit better now with a slightly better offensive line. But yeah, Dameon Pierce, the Falcons have been good against running backs. They've allowed the 4th fewest points to running backs this season. And the Saints, 6th against running backs. So neither of these guys have a good matchup. And yeah, I still think I'd lean Mondre, especially in a half PPR, PPR league. Look at the receiving stats here. And I think Dameon Pierce maybe did have a decent receiving game last week. But yeah, Mondre's running twice the amount of routes, seeing twice the amount of targets. And yeah, Dameon Pierce is coming off his best game, I think, of the season. Second best game, I guess, 11.8 points. Thanks for the gifts in the TikTok live. I do appreciate that. Stevenson or Breida. I'd lean Stevenson over Breida for sure. 24 carries for Pierce last week. But yeah, I think I'd lean Stevenson over Pierce as well. And I think my running back rankings agree with that. I'll pull up the running back rankings here on the YouTube live. If you come to the YouTube live, by the way, link is right in the TikTok bio. You get my top 25 rankings every position. I got the running back rankings up right now. We'll answer a lot of the start sits I can't get to. Gainwell or Elliott. Yeah, I'm playing Elliott over Gainwell, I think. I don't really feel great about either of those guys, though. Drop Ertz, Musgrave, or Hunter Henry. I'm dropping Musgrave, I think. I like Ertz and Hunter Henry more than Musgrave right now. Do you know if Odell's in a snap count? Because I want to take his 24.5 reception yard prop. This seems like a trap. Yeah, Kyle, is a little bit of a trap. He easily could be on a snap count. He could easily go over 24.5 reception yards with like just a couple catches, but I would stay away from that one. Bijan, Mixon, Montgomery start too. Yeah, Bijan and Montgomery auto starts this week. Auto starts, both top 3 running backs. I got Bijan one spot ahead of Dave Montgomery. I see a lot of rankings out there with Montgomery ahead of Bijan. Montgomery's probably going to lead all players in carries today. He's I think the best bet to lead all players in touches today. Montgomery had 32 carries last week. That is the most carries we've seen any running back get in a game this season. And now he gets the Panthers, who are bottom 5 rushing defense this year. No Jahmyr Gibbs, no Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, we could see David Montgomery get close to 40 carries. Like, it is within his range of outcomes, and there's no other running backs you can say that about. So yeah, starting both those guys over Mixon, even though Mixon's in a good spot too. Saquon is out. Saquon is doubtful. That means out in the NFL. So yeah, definitely bench Saquon and make other plans. And Breida is definitely a good play now. Hey Sam, I have Puka, Wilson, and Achane. And I can start 2 full PPR. Yeah, this one's super, super close. I think I do have Garrett Wilson ahead of Puka. So I think I would go Garrett Wilson and Achane over Puka. But I do like Puka Nacua still this week. Should I get Pacheco for Gibbs and Pickens? No, I would not do that. I still like Gibbs more than Pacheco rest of season if it's a PPR league. Hey Sam, Najee, London, or Tank Dell. It's Tank Dell. It's Tank Dell over Najee and Drake London. I don't know how you could possibly start Najee Harris right now in fantasy. And similar thing with Drake London. I don't want anything to do with the Falcons passing attack. Nothing. No, thank you. Answer our Rice questions. I will get to Rashee Rice questions. Rashee Rice or Cortland Sutton. Rashee Rice. I think I've seen Rashee Rice and Matt Breida. I don't hate the Dobbs rushing line on Sleeper. Let's pull up Rashee Rice here. Rashee Rice has a good ceiling today. I'm okay starting Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice is the only Chiefs receiver I really feel comfortable starting. But let's just be real about what the floor is for Rashee Rice. It's pretty low. It's pretty low. He is the guy to start, though, out of the receivers. He's played over 45% of the snaps in back-to-back games now. He's ran a route on exactly 55% of the dropbacks for the Chiefs back-to-back games. He's seen at least a 17% target share in back-to-back games. And he's a really, really good matchup. Really, really good in game environment. This game is by far the highest projected scoring game of the week. So yeah, I'm okay going Rashee Rice over Cortland Sutton. I think it's fine. I think the floor is probably a little bit better for Sutton. I get why Sutton's projecting better. The matchups, though, it's just not even close. So yeah, I'm okay going Rashee Rice over Sutton. Just be realistic about the floor. It's a ceiling play with Rashee Rice because the Chiefs really do spread the ball around a lot. Yo, appreciate the response. I guess my question should have been Ayuk or Mixon in the flex. Yeah, I think I'd lean Mixon, Carter over Ayuk in the flex. I do like Ayuk a lot, especially in PPR, but it's a really good spot for Mixon for sure. Spears or Swift and Dell or Thielen. Yeah, it's got to be Swift over Spears and Thielen over Dell too. Thielen over Dell and and Swift over Spears. Higbee or Kittle. So yeah, if you come to the YouTube live, links right in the TikTok bio. You got my top 15 tight ends right on the screen here. And I got Kittle and Higbee back to back. I got Kittle at number 8, Higbee at number 9. So yeah, it's still Kittle. I'm okay still starting Kittle. Like, I get being frustrated with Kittle in fantasy. And I think you just like, that's a little bit of what you signed up for when you drafted Kittle, is this very, very boom bust tight end. because there's so many weapons in the 49ers offense that there's going to be games like last week where Kittle goes for 1.9 points. He now has under 7 fantasy points, Kittle, in 3 of his 4 games. But the game where he didn't go under that, he had 16 points and was the tight end 3. Like, he has top 3 tight end upside every week. Not a great matchup for him against the Cowboys. But yeah, I still think Kittle over Higbee's fine, especially with Kupp coming back. My favorite player prop today, it is the Breece Hall over 59.5 rushing yards. I'll pull up my picks against the spread here on the YouTube Live too, top 3 of those. My favorite picks against the spread, my favorite plays today, just in games in general. I do like the Texans +2. I think the Texans should beat the Falcons, especially with the offensive line improving. I like the Colts +2.5. I think they should beat the Titans. I also like the Jets +2.5. I think the Jets, Colts, and Texans all win today. They're all underdogs. I also like the Packers +2 on Monday night against the Raiders. I was pretty surprised that they were underdogs in that game against the Raiders. Hello, Sam. Should I start Marquise Brown or Thielen? PPR apps Thielen and Andrews or Laporta? Yeah, I personally lean Andrews over Laporta. I think it's close for sure between those two. Laporta is definitely a good option, especially with Amon-Ra out. But we saw Lamar solidified to me. He's a top 5 fantasy quarterback every week now with what he did against the Browns. And you can say the same thing, I think, about Andrews last week. The Browns defense is very, very good. The fact that Lamar and Andrews balled out as much as they did last week against such a good defense, you got to start them every week, basically, from here on out. And even if, it doesn't come to fruition for Andrews this week, like there's no matchup that is too tough for Mark Andrews and Lamar. There's none, because they had it last week and they balled 25 points for Mark Andrews last week. And yeah, I think I'd lean Thielen over Marquise Brown in PPR as well. Thielen is really, really a good option in PPR leagues with the amount of targets he's seeing. Start the Cowboys defense against the 49ers or the Texans defense against the Falcons. I like the Texans defense more, honestly. The Falcons cannot pass. They will match up really well, though, against the run. Like, Texans defense is definitely not a great play, but I don't like starting defenses against the 49ers either. Do you like Bijan, rush and reception yards at 112, or his rush yards at 80.5? Sorry for the prop questions. Kyle, I love the prop questions. Don't apologize. Breece Hall is definitely the prop of the day. I like Bijan's, I think, rushing line a little bit more than the rushing and receiving, but it's pretty close. I don't feel super strongly about it. He has been getting, I think, right around 5 targets a game. Start Cowboys. Yeah, we already got to that. Been here since week 1 last year. Love you, Sam. Thank you, man. I really do appreciate that. Won't say your name here on the YouTube Live. Thielen or Ayuk at flex. Yeah, I think let's pull up the wide receiver rankings here again. And I have Ayuk, I think, 1 or 2 spots ahead of Thielen. I'm okay going Ayuk over Thielen. And should I look towards trading Jahmyr Gibbs? No, I just don't think, if anything, to me, Gibbs is a buy, not a sell right now. You're just selling too low. I think he still has a much higher ceiling than what you're getting him for. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a really, really good buy low, honestly. And I think especially for teams that are like tracking towards the playoffs, guys, one of the biggest edges you can get in all of fantasy football, and there's less and less edges, honestly, to get in fantasy every year as people get smarter. But one of the biggest edges in all of fantasy football is just understanding and strategizing around the fact that all that matters is the fantasy football playoffs. That's it. Once you make it there. So if you are, in the top 3 teams in your league in the standings, we're not quite to the point where you can for sure say you're going to make the playoffs, but you got a pretty good chance to make the playoffs. Like, you got to start very early planning for the playoffs. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a pretty good way to doing that. They have a really high scoring projected game in week 17 against the Cowboys. I'm talking about week 17 because, guys, this is when championships are won. So yeah, don't trade away Gibbs. Gibbs can definitely win leagues down the stretch. He's not going to help us right now. This week he's out, and the role is not what we hoped it would be, but he has shown flashes of really big target numbers. So I think he still has league-winning upside in PPR. I think he's more of a buy than a sell, especially if you're a team that is looking likely for the playoffs. Walter likes the Monty over 82.5 rush yards in the prop value. Yeah, Monty, like I said, he could get 40 carries. He literally could get 40 carries. Been here since 9 a.m. Thank you. Shout out to you. We have been on London time this morning. Guys, we are over 2 hours into this live stream, and we're just getting started, man. We're just getting started. We got another 2-ish hours to go. We got an hour 45 till kickoff now. Been here since 9 a.m. Shout out to you. Breida, Aaron Jones, Jaleel. Yeah, it's Aaron Jones. Then it's Breida. Then it's Jaleel. I also have AJ Dillon in case Jones is out. Yeah, that makes me move towards Aaron Jones even more. Should I play 2 and bench Tank? No, I'm playing Tank over Breida and Jaleel. Again, I think Jaleel is a pretty big trap this week. Does he have somewhat of a ceiling? Sure. Jaleel has somewhat of a ceiling if Javonte is ruled out, which he hasn't even been ruled out yet. But the floor for Jaleel, it is under 5 points. That is the floor. P. Ryan could definitely play. Oh, man. Chris Olave testing something out pregame with the trainers. Is Olave going to play this week? It looks like Olave is very much questionable now in this game. Olave is like testing something out with the trainers pregame, is the report I just read. And we're going to get the official injury reports in like 45 minutes. So I won't speculate beyond that. And you will see. Speaking of playoffs, Henry plays Houston twice in the playoffs, including championship week. Yeah, Xavier, it's crazy. It feels like every year this happens with Derrick Henry. He gets the Texans twice. They play him in week 15 and 17. And on the flip side of that, the Texans receivers get the Titans twice. Their secondary has not been good against receivers. Great news for Nico Collins, Tank Dell, CJ Stroud. I mean, league winners, honestly, when you look ahead at the playoffs. Morning, Sam. Missed the stash. Yeah, I missed the stash too. I couldn't keep it going. I loved it. My family members were not having it. Need help. Taylor, Achane, or Jacobs, full PPR. Yeah, I'm going Josh Jacobs for sure here. I think it's Jacobs, then it's Achane, then it's Taylor. And moving forward, it could be JT. Definitely, like for this question, I could see JT flying up to top 5 running back rest of the season pretty quickly. But this week does not sound like he's going to get his full huge workload. Pittman or Flowers? Yeah, I like Pittman more than Flowers. And the London game starting back up, second half here. Let's go. Josh Allen down 11-7. Hopefully we get a good second half here. Hopefully from Ridley. Hopefully Dalton Kincaid can do something. It seems like that prop is total toast at this point, but we will see. And a good catch here from Diggs to start the half. Hey, Sam, Addison or JT? I'm going Addison over JT. Thielen or JT? I'm going Thielen over JT. So JT's on my must-bench list this week. Let me talk through this one. Because JT is like not a lock-in, always must-bench player like some of the other players in this list, like T. Higgins, Saquon, they're not playing. James Williams, do not start him in any situations. Najee Harris, Kyle Pitts, like don't start them. Jaleel McLaughlin, Alexander Madison, I want nothing to do with those guys either. Javonte Williams, same thing. JT, I think that he can be started in some spots. Like I'm starting JT over like all those guys I just mentioned. I'm starting Jonathan Taylor over Najee Harris. I'm starting Jonathan Taylor over Jaleel McLaughlin, Alexander Madison. I'm starting Jonathan Taylor over some of these receivers you guys were just saying. But I'm not starting over, like if I have good options, high ceiling options, like Jordan Addison, for example, I'm okay going Addison over JT, I think in that spot. I think like Tank Dell versus JT, like now we're getting close to that line. Maybe JT does make more sense than Tank Dell. But yeah, so JT is like he's a must bench if you have good options, but it's not like he has to be benched over everybody, if that makes sense. Rice or Dell? Yeah, I'd lean Tank Dell over Rice. Looked like Gabe Davis just took a pretty big hit there in that incompletion. All right, hey Sam, start for Jay Jettis. All right, first of all, off the bat here, Andrew, this might be your first time in the live. We don't ask Justin Jefferson questions on this live. You're starting Justin Jefferson every single week. There's a small list of players, a pretty small list, honestly. It feels like it gets smaller every year. But there's a small list of players, like there's no questions about them. No matter who they're playing, every single week, you're starting them. Justin Jefferson is absolutely one of those guys. And CeeDee Lamb's honestly one of those guys too. You're starting Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb here. You just said start 4. You gave me 4 guys too here. You're all over the place here, Andrew. But yeah, you're starting JJ. You're starting CeeDee Lamb always. And I got Puka over Thielen this week. Morning, Sam. Got a question. Mondre or Madison? Yeah, so I'm not starting Madison. I'm definitely starting Mondre over Madison. I'm really, really nervous about Alexander Madison this week. He is playing with Cam Akers now, who had 30% of the snaps last week. Cam Akers played well too. So I think that snap percentage is going to go up for Cam Akers. I think he could steal goal line work and he could steal receiving work. Deebo Samuel, similar to Jonathan Taylor, he is a must bench, assuming you have a good option. Like I'm starting Hollywood Brown over Deebo Samuel, for example. I'm starting Zay Flowers over Deebo Samuel. I'm starting Zay Flowers over Jonathan Taylor too. I think that's a guy who would be fine starting JT over, especially in a PPR league. Like Deebo Samuel, like I'd start him. I think starting him over Tank Dell, that's fine. Bench players that are out, are you sure? Yeah, so really like I'm just trying to, communicate information to people. And yeah, T. Higgins and Saquon are out. There have been a lot of questions, honestly, about that. So I'm glad I put those guys in. But yes, obviously we're not starting guys that are out. You got to take your layups here in fantasy. Mostert or Hall? Yeah, I got Brees over Mostert this week. And they're both really good options, both really, really high ceiling plays. Both good matchups, but the matchup is just unparalleled for Brees Hall today. You got to start Brees Hall. I think in basically all situations. I don't think I've told a single person today to bench Brees Hall. And yeah, I'm starting Brees Hall over Raheem Mostert as well. Algier or McLaughlin? Oh, God, yeah. I was looking at Algier this morning, too, in one of my leagues, thinking about him versus Sutton. It's a good matchup against the Texans, but you look at the numbers for Algier, and you can't be starting him. I think Jaleel over him is fine. Kyron Williams is a start. Burrow or Goff? I think I have Goff over Burrow. I'm playing Waddle over Zay Flowers pretty easily. I'm playing Michael Thomas. I think I moved Michael Thomas up a decent amount here. And Olave like is suddenly questionable for this game. And if Olave ends up being out, Michael Thomas is a top 15 wide receiver this week. We haven't gotten official status on Olave, but there was this video circulating Twitter of him testing something out pregame with the trainers. No bueno, it sounds like, for Chris Olave is what I'm reading here on my Twitter feed. Again, we haven't gotten the official injury reports yet. We'll get those in the next 40 minutes. But you might want to be thinking about other options if you have Chris Olave. And it does bump up. It definitely does bump up Mike Thomas a decent amount. I'm going to update these rankings here. We got to move Chris Olave down with the chance that he might not even play. And even if he plays now, maybe he's playing through an injury. I'm going to move Chris Olave down a decent amount here in these rankings. I think here probably makes more sense, honestly, like around wide receiver 30 now. I got him at wide receiver 29 now, Chris Olave, because there's a real chance Chris Olave does not play. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, links are in the TikTok live, watching live on TikTok, just as free as the TikTok live. You got my top 25 rankings, every position on the YouTube live. It's going to answer so many of your questions that I couldn't get to. Another place to go if I can't get to your questions, because I try to get to as many questions as I can, guys. You guys know this. That's why you're here. But I can't get to all of them. Just realistically, I'm not going to be able to get to all of them. But the WalterPicks app can get to all of them. And I've spent the last 3 years of my life helping build the WalterPicks app. I'm telling you, it's going to help you so much. It's free. It's in the TikTok bio. It's in the YouTube description. Check out the WalterPicks app. We're launching so many new features. ASRB is doubtful. And Mon-Ra St. Brown's not going to play. Saquon Barkley's not going to play. Michael Wilson, Josh Reynolds, Jameson Williams, or Jerry Jeudy. It's got to be Jerry Jeudy over Michael Wilson, Jerry Jeudy over Josh Reynolds, Jerry Jeudy over Jameson Williams. You can't start Jameson Williams right now. Stevenson plus Waller for Monty, a good trade. It's fair trade. Tank Dell or D-Hop as a sub. Yeah, it's D-Hop over Tank Dell for sure. I do actually like D-Hop a decent amount this week. I feel like he's been on my must-bench list a few weeks, but he's getting back to full health now. There's no Treylon Burks in this game. This game's projected to be pretty close. The Colts secondary is not a scary secondary. I do think D-Hop could get 10 plus targets today. I like D-Hop a decent amount. I traded away Jahmyr Gibbs for Michael Pittman, a full PPR league like 2 days ago. Is that a bad trade? No, that's a fine trade. If you're going to get that value for Gibbs, depends what type of value you're getting out there for Gibbs. But after this hamstring injury, it feels like it's going to be tough to get enough value for Gibbs that it will make sense. Jaleel or Gus? Oh God, yeah. I mean, I guess this one's Gus. I don't feel good at all about Jaleel. But that one's pretty close, honestly. It depends too if Javonte ends up playing or not. If Javonte plays, you cannot start Jaleel. If Javonte doesn't play, then I think Jaleel over Gus is reasonable. But I'm not playing Jaleel in like almost all spots. Luke, I'll get you the tight end rankings here. Hope you're having a good morning. You as well, Kevin. Shout out to everybody in this live. Hope all of you guys are having a fantastic morning. We're going to have a fantastic Sunday. So many good games today, and finally a good schedule too. We got the Sunday morning game getting us through the morning. Fun game between the Jaguars and the Bills so far. Then we got, I think we got 5 maybe late window games finally today. I can't stand like 2 or 3 only late window games. I think we got 4 or 5 today. All pretty good games today too. Really excited for a lot of the games. We'll talk game by game here just a second. Pacheco, Jacobs, Kamara, Hall, pick 2. Yeah, it's Hall. It's Kamara. It's Jacobs. It's between these 3. Definitely not Pacheco here. I think I have Kamara and Hall ahead of Jacobs, but the matchup is so good for Jacobs. It's a really tough call here. I would play Brees for sure. I actually do have Jacobs. Just kidding. I have Jacobs ahead of Kamara. So yeah, it's Jacobs and Hall. I got the running back rankings here up on the YouTube live now. I benched Nico for Debo. Is that the right play? No, I don't think so. I mean, if you did that last week, Debo had 0 points. Nico had 30 points. Obviously, it's not that straightforward. We can't just follow what happened last week. I do think Debo will do better than last week as he returns closer to full health. But I'm okay going Nico over Debo for sure. And Debo's still not at 100%. He isn't. He's not practicing 100% yet. I'm playing Judy over him for that reason. That's why Debo's on the must bench list. Would you do Mostert over Kyron Williams? Thank you. Yeah. I have Mostert 1 spot ahead of Kyron Williams here in these running back rankings. Super close call. But yeah, I think I would go Mostert over Kyron. It's not a great matchup for Kyron, but he can get a lot of catches in PPR leagues. Lamar is a much better matchup for Mostert for sure. Lamar Jackson or Jordan Love. I'm going Lamar for sure. With Lamar dropping a 30 bomb against the Browns last week, he has to be started every week. I mean, the Browns defense is one of the better defenses he'll play this season. 2 questions, Hopkins or Thielen? And do you like Josh Reynolds this week? Yeah, I do like Josh Reynolds this week. With no Amon-Ra St. Brown. Honestly, I think Josh Reynolds in the DraftKings lineup, very much in play. I might tinker with this DraftKings lineup in a second. Yes, I'm seeing the videos of Olave. I like Hopkins and Thielen this week, but I think I like Thielen. I think I have a little bit ahead of Hopkins. Yeah, I have 1 spot ahead. I have 1 spot ahead on Thielen. I did update the rankings based on this video. Let me pull this up on the YouTube live. I just saw it. Might not be able to find it now. Looks like the Bills defense is making a big stop here. But yeah, there's videos circulating about Olave. I moved him down a decent amount here in the projections. Looks like an ankle injury for Olave, and there's a real chance Olave just doesn't even play, like, at all. So yeah, you got to be making other plans, and it definitely bumps up Mike Thomas, I think, a decent amount. Going to wait on the official report. We're going to get the official injury report really, really soon. So I don't want to jump to any conclusions based on a couple kind of unclear videos. But yeah, I'm pretty nervous about Olave right now. Hey, Sam, huge decision. Who do I play at flex? Matt Breida, Michael Wilson, Josh Reynolds, or Cam Akers? Yeah, that's one. I think you said this is a PPR league. Oh my God, did Ridley just get hurt? I really hope he's okay. That looked like a really big hit for Ridley. Matt Breida, Mike Wilson, Josh Reynolds, or Cam Akers. Yeah, let's compare these first three. I don't think Cam Akers can be started. I'm nervous about Madison because of Cam Akers, but I'm still not starting Cam Akers. Let's do this comparison on the YouTube live. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now, guys. On the YouTube live, it's a better viewing experience because I can pull up your comments on the screen. I can show you my top 25 rankings for every position, which my receivers, they have 38 receivers here in the top 25, and I can share my screen to some of these comparisons that we're thinking through and talking through on this live, and look at some of the key stats to make these decisions from the WalterPicks app. All right, Josh Reynolds here. Let's compare these three. And Josh Reynolds is winning off the bat here in the core projection in PPR. I assume this is a PPR league because he didn't tell me the scoring settings. He has the worst matchup of these three. Michael Wilson is the best matchup. Yeah, I'm okay going Josh Reynolds here. I think I'd probably agree with the order here of Josh Reynolds, then Matt Breida, then Wilson. Breida feels like maybe a little bit of a safer play overall just because his touches are a little bit more locked in, and you can see that here. Actually, the bust percentage is definitely the best here for Breida. So he's the safest play. Josh Reynolds, though, has the highest ceiling for sure. I agree kind of all around here with what Walter's saying on that one. Please, Tyler Algier, Samaje or Samaje Perine. Oh, that was a messed up hit against Ridley. I don't think is he still out there? Because I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him again in this game or next week after that hit that felt like a concussion type of hit. Not to speculate, but that was not a good hit against Ridley. I didn't see if he left the game or not, but pretty brutal. Did keep the drive alive for the Jaguars, though. A pretty big penalty. Yeah, I'm going Tyler Algier over over Samaje Perine. I'm fine with that against the Texans. Sam, I'm once again coming to you for help. Xavier, I got you. With the Olave news, I need a wide receiver. My only other active wide receiver was Ridley. Downs or Boyd. I have AR-15. Do I drop T-Law for them or take a 0? Don't take a 0. Don't take a 0, especially if your game's projected to be close. Like if you played TJ Moore, maybe you could talk yourself into taking a 0 in like a spot like this. But if you have AR-15, you don't really need Trevor Lawrence. You're going to start Anthony Richardson basically every week. And I think Boyd over Downs makes a lot of sense. I don't hate the stack with Anthony Richardson and Downs, but yeah, I think Boyd is the better play with T. Higgins out. I would drop Trevor Lawrence, add Tyler Boyd, and start him. And let's wait still on like official report about Chris Olave because we've just had a couple kind of unclear videos, but it does sound like Breida or Sanders. Yeah, I'm going Breida over Sanders this week. I'm pretty nervous for Sanders with the hamstring injury, and yeah, I'm still waiting for this official report on Olave, and we're going to get the official news injury reports like really, really soon. Oh God, yikes. For Trevor Lawrence, that was a really ugly play there. But it does sound like Olave is at risk of not playing with some type of injury he was testing out pregame. That was the video that was circulating. Start Aaron Jones or Matt Breida. Yeah, it's Aaron Jones over Matt Breida. You hold out hope for Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones played last week. So yeah, it's Aaron Jones. And Kirk Cousins versus A-Rich is close. I got A-Rich 2 spots ahead of Kirk Cousins. Walter has Kirk Cousins, I think, ahead of Anthony Richardson in the WalterPicks app. It's close. I personally lean towards the Russian guys, though, in general. So I'm going A-Rich over Kirk Cousins, even though it's potentially a really, really high-scoring game here for the Vikings and Chiefs. By far the highest projected scoring game this week. Higbee or Ferguson? Higbee or Ferguson? Let me put the tight end rankings here again on the YouTube live. Definitely not feeling great about Dalton Kincaid so far. Feels like he's almost definitely going to miss his prop line. I got Higbee 1 spot ahead of Ferguson, and it is a better matchup for Higbee than Ferguson. Derrick Henry or Kamara, standard. So yeah, standard league, this one's much, much closer. And then Nico Garrett Wilson. Yeah, it's got to be Garrett Wilson over Nico. And yeah, these are PPR rankings, though. So let's see how different this is in non-PPR, because certainly Derrick Henry is one of these players that gets a big boost in non-PPR leagues where receptions don't matter as much, and it's kind of all about touchdowns. So I'm interested to see the difference here, because in PPR, this one's not close. You got to start Kamara in a PPR league, but if we switch this to standard, and this is part of the reason the WalterPicks app really is unmatched. Like it's custom to your settings. This is why scoring settings are super important. And yeah, look, Derrick Henry over Kamara in non-PPR. It makes a lot of sense. Kamara scored almost all of his points from receptions last week in PPR. So Henry over Kamara in non-PPR makes a lot of sense to me. And this is why scoring settings matter so much to consider. And that's why the WalterPicks app can really help you personalize to you in your scoring settings. The WalterPicks app, totally free. Link is in the TikTok bio. Link is in the YouTube description. It's going to help you with every single start sit decision, every single trade decision for completely free. And then also, why do I talk in pauses? Because I'm thinking. Also, if you try the premium subscription, which comes with a 7-day free trial and is only $5 a month, you can sync your leagues to the app for an even more personalized experience. So definitely check out the WalterPicks app if you haven't yet. Best way you could possibly support me is by trying out the WalterPicks app. Madison or Romeo Dobbs, Madison or Judy. Yeah, played Romeo Dobbs over Madison, played Judy over Madison. Definitely in PPR. I'm not starting Madison this week in any leagues. Breida or Jaleel. It's Breida over Jaleel. Jaleel is a trap this week. We're still waiting on official report if Javonte Williams is playing. But even if Javonte doesn't play, I really don't want to be starting Jaleel McLaughlin. Kyron Williams and Stroud or Burrow. You're the best. Thanks, Brianne. I appreciate that. Swift or Kyron Williams. Yeah, I'm going Kyron Williams over Swift. Neither of them have great matchups today, but the usage for Kyron Williams is just off the charts. And then Stroud over Burrow, it's got to be Stroud. Got to be Stroud over Burrow. A Gibbs replacement if hurt. Yeah, so Gibbs is out this week. He's out. Craig Reynolds is probably going to be the next guy up on the Lions. Don't really feel great about starting him, though, overall. Samaje Perine, Jaleel McLaughlin. These are the guys people are smashing into their lineups, which I don't feel great about them either. Henry or Ferguson, I think I have the tight end rankings up right now. And yeah, I have Ferguson one spot ahead of Hunter Henry. Let's put the wide receiver rankings up. And yeah, so the free player prop today, it's Breece Hall over 59.5 rushing yards. I can't believe they're setting the line at 59.5 against the Broncos defense for Breece Hall, who's reportedly off the snap count. The Broncos defense is clearly the worst defense in the league so far this season. It's not even that close. They are abysmal. They allowed over 60 fantasy points to running backs against the Dolphins. They allowed I think it was over 300 rushing yards against the Dolphins in one game. I'm not expecting 300 rushing yards from the Jets, but he only needs 60 yards. I think he's going to smash passes. I think Breece Hall has a better chance at 100 rushing yards than he does at 60 rushing yards today. So yeah, definitely starting Breece Hall in all spots. I like Breece Hall's rushing prop too. Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, Kamara, or Jacobs start 3. Yeah, you got to bench Kyron in this spot. Breece, Kamara, Jacobs, all top 7 options from me this week. Support a creator code. Yeah, use code SAM. Use code Sam Parker in the WalterPicks app. I do appreciate that. Also, guys, if you've never deposited on Sleeper before, you can use code Walter on Sleeper. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Free money on Sleeper. Take the Breece Hall prop there. They also discount props so much. They discounted DJ Moore's prop Thursday night. That was easy play on Sleeper. It's worth depositing on Sleeper. Get the 100% deposit match with code Walter, and then just play the discounts. That's what I've been doing on Sleeper. Tyler Boyd or Zay Flowers. I got Zay over Tyler Boyd this week. Should I trade Hurts or Love? I definitely would go Hurts over Love. Thielen or Jordan Addison in the flex. Thielen's been really, really good in PPR leagues. I think you got to be going Thielen over Addison, even though the ceiling is really high for Addison. Aaron Jones or JT? I'm holding out hope for Aaron Jones over Jonathan Taylor. I think Jonathan Taylor, he's on my must-bench list just because he's not going to see his full workload today. Excited to see him back, though. And, I'm starting JT still in a lot of spots. I'm still starting him over Jaleel McLaughlin, for God's sakes. I'm starting over Gus Edwards. I'm starting over Tank Dell. I think Tank Dell versus JT, that's right around the line, especially in a PPR league. But don't start Zach Moss with JT back. I'm holding out hope for Aaron Jones to play because he played last week. And maybe he'll be a little bit limited. But, yeah, still the matchup's really good for Aaron Jones. I'm okay going with him. Watson or Flowers. Yeah, I'm pretty excited, honestly, for Christian Watson this week. I do think his role will continue to grow coming back off the injury. Really big pass here for Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs. They're starting to heat up now. This game's going to be close. I'd lean Christian Watson, I think, over. Actually, let me pull this up. The wide receiver. The receiver ring is already up. And I think I have both these guys pretty high. And I have Zay Flowers 2 spots ahead of Christian Watson, actually. So I think it is Zay. Let's pull up this comparison here, actually, on the YouTube live. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube, guys. Shout out to everyone that's live. Make sure you hit the follow button, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're watching live on TikTok. Guys, it takes you 2 seconds to do those things. I can't tell you how much it actually does help me out. All right, Watson versus Zay Flowers. And Walter really likes Watson this week in this matchup. I have Zay Flowers ahead of Watson. Oh, this is non-PPR. Let me change this to PPR. That definitely is going to help out Zay for sure. And yeah, PPR does lean Zay. Better matchup for Zay than Watson. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry, on the YouTube live. This is Zay Flowers versus Christian Watson. And yeah, it's Zay over Watson for me. And Walter agrees in a PPR format. Non-PPR actually wasn't close. It was Watson over Zay, which makes sense. But yeah, it's Zay over Watson. I still think Zay Flowers is a good play, even with Odell and Bateman coming back. Zay Flowers is clearly the top receiving option after Mark Andrews for Lamar Jackson. All right, let's get back to some of these start sits. Let's also, I do want to go game by game here for just a second, and then we'll get back to some of these start sit questions as well. But I think just going game by game will help you guys with some of these start sits. So first of all, Jaguars, they're playing the Bills right now. We are on London time today, and I did take the Jags plus 5.5 in this one. This game's going to be close coming down the stretch. The Bills offense is starting to do better. The Dolphins playing the Giants, 12.5-point favorites in that game. You got to feel really, really good about Achane and Mostert and Waddle and Tyreek and Tua today. The Giants defense is not good. The Giants offense is going to be kind of interesting play today in fantasy. The 12.5-point underdogs. Daniel Jones is rushing a lot. No Saquon. Matt Breida is definitely in play. Darren Waller, I still think is a top 7 tight end option. I'm starting Darren Waller over a lot of tight ends this week. I'm starting him over Dallas Goedert. I started him over Evan Ingram, George Kittle, Tyler Higbee, Jake Ferguson. I'm going Darren Waller over all of those guys. I'm not playing over Sam Laporta, though, or Mark Andrews, or Hawkinson, or Kelsey, of course. On to the next game here. I'll put the running back rankings here so I can pull up these game by games. We got the Panthers. They're 9.5-point underdogs against the Lions. I do like the 9.5 points there. That feels like a lot to give to the Lions with no Amon-Ra St. Brown and no Jahmyr Gibbs. But David Montgomery is a smash play today. He's the number 3 running back in my rankings. He's a top 5 running back any way you slice it today. He had 32 carries last week. That's the most carries we've seen any running back get this season. And now he gets a fantastic matchup against the Carolina Panthers, who have been really, really bad against the run. They're allowing the 4th most points per game to running backs this season. Tyler Algier and Bijan week 1 both ripped over 20 points against them. Tony Jones, who is not good, 16 points against the Panthers. Kenneth Walker dropped a 30 bomb on the Panthers. Alexander Madison even had a decent day, 95 yards, 11 points against the Panthers. Cam Akers had another 7 last week. The Panthers are horrible against the run, and David Montgomery is going to get all of the run today. On top of that, we got the Patriots. They are 1.5-point favorites today against the Saints. It sounds like Chris Olave might not go. We're still waiting on the official injury report there, and I think we're about to get it here. The Patriots inactives were just released. And we're getting Chris Olave should be good to go. He's active today. Chris Olave is active today. It looks like we're just getting these official reports now. Cordero Patterson is active. I think he was active last week and didn't play though at all, which was kind of surprising, honestly, for Cordero Patterson. He's really done nothing so far this season. The Patriots, Cole Strange is out. A couple offensive linemen out. Nothing really glaring to share here from the Patriots report. Saquon officially out. Sounds like Saquon's at like a real risk to miss next week too, and maybe more weeks after that. Chris Olave is officially active. Odell is officially active. We're gonna update the Olave. I don't think you have to bench Olave just because of a few videos of him testing something out. If he's going to be active, I'm going to move him back up here a little bit. Back to number, I think 18 makes sense. I'm still going to monitor obviously the news stuff with Olave, but there's video circulating on Twitter of Olave testing out his ankle pregame. Some questions popping up if he was even going to be active. He is active though. And that to me, that means you kind of have to still start Olave. Where can we see your rankings? Yeah, so come to the YouTube live. Links right in the TikTok bio. I got my top 25 rankings, every position up on the YouTube live. And then also for really the best rankings you could possibly find, even better than mine, honestly, is the WalterPicks app, which is free. That's in the TikTok bio as well. Or just look up WalterPicks on the TikTok or the iOS or Android app store. Kittle or Madison at flex. Yeah, so I hate starting 2 tight ends, man. I almost never do it. I don't want Madison this week, though. I'm okay going with Kittle. Why sit JT? He's just not going to see his full workload. So I think you can find better options in a lot of spots, but he's not a must bench in all situations. Like I'm starting JT over Jaleel. I'm starting JT over Matt Breida. I'm starting him over those guys, for example. Tank Dell or Matt Breida? I'm going Tank Dell over Breida. 2 starts: McLaughlin, Spears, Moss. Yeah, this is gross, man. This is gross. I think it's McLaughlin, Spears. I really don't think you can start Moss with JT back. Myers versus Thielen versus JT. Yeah, this one to me is Thielen, especially if this is a PPR league. The target numbers have been really elite for Adam Thielen so far. Kyren or Pacheco? It's Kyren for sure over Pacheco. Judy, JT, Warren, and Dobbs, standard PPR. Standard or PPR? I guess I assume you mean just PPR. Judy, JT, Warren, and Dobbs. Yeah, I kind of want to say Judy and Dobbs here over JT and Warren. I definitely don't think Warren can be started. Warren versus JT is a close one. I think I'd lean JT over Warren. I'll pull up the running back rankings here on the YouTube live, which will definitely help too with this one. But yeah, I think Judy and Dobbs in PPR is fine over JT and Warren, especially, considering it's a PPR league. Judy is a tough matchup, but I think the role his usage still can increase from what we've seen. I would start Ramondre Stevenson over JT. That one's pretty close too. I got the running back rankings up on the YouTube live right now. For those of you watching the TikTok, link to the YouTube lives right in the TikTok bio. You're not benching Alvin Kamara, guys. Definitely start Kamara over JT. Start Kamara over Zay Flowers. Start James Conner versus Nico Collins is actually a really close one. I think James Conner is the safer option and Nico's the higher ceiling play. You got to ask yourself, do you want to go for the higher ceiling or do you want to go for the safer floor? I almost always go to the higher ceiling because that's just my personality. I take risks for big rewards. That's what I did with WalterPicks. That's what I do in my fantasy lineups. So yeah, I'm okay going with Nico Collins over James Conner, but James Conner is definitely the safer play over Nico Collins. Kyren or Aaron Jones? I'm going Kyren over Aaron Jones for sure. How do you feel about Michael Wilson this week? I'm pretty excited about Michael Wilson. I'm not going to lie. He's one of my favorite last round best ball picks this season. And wow, Ridley is still in. I'm pretty surprised he's still in the game after the hit he took on that last drive. I do hope he's okay. But he is getting catches. So that is certainly good to see. For Calvin Ridley, I thought he was going to be ruled out after that hit he took on the last drive. Yeah, I'm really excited about Michael Wilson. Let's pull up the Michael Wilson game logs here on the YouTube live. Again, another reason that the YouTube live is just a little bit better of a viewing experience is I can pull up things on the screen because I'm on my computer on the YouTube live. And I can show my rankings and stuff too on the YouTube live. Link to that is right in the TikTok bio if you're watching live on TikTok. If you're watching live on YouTube, guys, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Do appreciate that. But yeah, let's pull up the Michael Wilson game logs because he's coming off by far the best game of his career. 27 points last week in PPR leagues. He's playing over 80% of the snaps, running over 80% of the routes. Sorry, not 80% of the snaps, but running over 80% of the routes here for the Cardinals. Decent matchup, like not a great matchup, not a horrible matchup against the Bengals. I think the floor is pretty low. Like we've seen the floor. The floor is like 4 points, 5 points here for Michael Wilson. I still think Marquise Brown's the best receiver on this offense, and James Conner will get a lot of work too. But yeah, Michael Wilson's got a ceiling. He definitely has a ceiling. So I'm fine starting him in some spots. And I even think I might have put him in my DraftKings lineup. I actually think I might tinker with this DraftKings lineup a bit though after some of the research we've done in this live. I think I got to get Stafford into this DraftKings lineup against the Eagles. The Eagles, guys, they have not been very good against passing. The Eagles defense is very, very good against the run. Their defensive line is elite. They have not been very good though against the pass. I'll pull up my DraftKings lineup here. And I have Marquise Brown, not Michael Wilson in that DraftKings lineup. Olave or Waddle? It's Waddle over Olave for sure. After this slightly concerning injury report before the game, it does sound like Olave's in. I'm going to refresh here right now. Yeah, he is active. Miles Sanders is active. Derek Carr is active. Chris Olave is officially active. Cordell Patterson is active. Jonathan Taylor is officially active. Saquon Barkley is officially inactive. Miles Sanders is active. We said that one. Aaron Jones is questionable. I do think Aaron Jones is going to end up playing. Oh, man. Don't tell me that's DeMar Hamlin down. I hope that's not. I don't think it's DeMar Hamlin. But another injury, it looks like, for the Bills defense. I mean, this is their fourth pretty major defensive injury in just the last game and a half. Pretty tough right now for the Bills defense. And this is going to be a big problem for them to against the Dolphins in the AFC East if their defense can't hold up. Watson, Mixon, or Nico in flex. It's Mixon over Watson and over Nico. Mixon's in a good spot. Sam, thanks for answering my questions. Appreciate you as always. See you next week for another Sunday London. Appreciate you tuning in, Kylo. Have a great Sunday. Pittman today. Yeah, start Pittman today for sure. I'm starting Darren Waller over Hunter Henry, excuse me. Not over Derrick Henry, but Darren Waller over Hunter Henry for sure. I do like Breida a little bit more than Jalen Warren. Pick 1 half-point PPR, Olave at Walt Warren. Yeah, it's still Olave for me, and I get like a little bit of concern from this Twitter stuff of him testing out his ankle, but he's active. Olave's active, and that's enough for me to start him over those guys. Mixon or Mostert. It's Mostert over Mixon for me. I got the running back rankings up on the screen now, and yeah, I do have Mostert. Actually, I have Mostert behind Mixon. It's Mixon over Mostert. I lied. Let's do this comparison too. I have a feeling Walter might like Mostert more than Mixon, but yeah, Mixon is a really safe play today, and his ceiling is actually pretty high. We haven't seen a ceiling game yet from Mixon. And yeah, Walter likes Mostert a bit more. I like Mixon a bit more, just given the matchup against the Cardinals. This is by far the best matchup Mixon's had this season. Mixon's played 4 top 15 running defenses so far this year. Now he gets the Cardinals, who rank 3rd worst. And the usage has been good. He's playing over 75% of the snaps. He's seeing at least 13 carries in every game. There's no T. Higgins in this one. He's only had 1 target last game. That's pretty disappointing. But yeah, the Bengals are small favorites in this game. I'm okay going Mixon, honestly, over Mostert. Mostert's got a good matchup, though, as well. Mostert has probably a higher ceiling, but I think the ceiling's still pretty high for Mixon if he can get in the end zone and the Bengals can sustain drives. I personally lean Mixon over Mostert. Definitely a close one, though, overall. All right, let's get back to some of these start sits. Connor or Mostert? Yeah, I lean Mostert over Connor. Matt Breida or Mondre? I go Mondre over Matt Breida still. I got Mostert over Pierce. Josh Reynolds is a start today if you need a receiver. There's Noah Monra and Jameson Williams. His snaps are capped at 20, they're saying. Dell or Collins? I'm going Collins over Dell, but I like both today. I'm going Thielen over Flowers, but I like both of those guys today too. Tyler Boyd can be started for sure. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, you can come to the YouTube live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. You get my top 25 rankings every position. Kamara or Ayuk, bro? It's definitely Kamara. It's got to be Kamara over Ayuk. Definitely don't start Jaleel McLaughlin. He is, to me, the trap of the week. I guess I think this Broncos game might be later in the day. Is that why we're not going to get this report here about Javonte Williams? Because, oh, man, yeah, that's a tough injury there for the Bills defender. They're just getting decimated with injuries, the Bills defense. They're down 4 starters in the last game and a half now, the Bills. And a few of those very significant starters, including their best corner in Tre'Davious White, who's not playing in this game. Okay. Yeah, we got the Broncos at 425. So we're not going to get the Javonte Williams report and whether or not that he's going to play on this live stream. Most likely not going to get that report during this live stream. I think Javonte Williams probably won't play, but he could play. And that's even more the case to just not trust Jaleel McLaughlin this week. But even if Javonte doesn't play, guys, don't start Jaleel. Don't do it. P. Ryan's played more than him this season. His floor, even if Javonte's out, I think his floor is just too low. He has somewhat of a ceiling. I would still play Jaleel, I think, over Algier. You like Nico Collins? Yeah, I like Nico Collins. Zay Flowers or Chris Olave? Yeah, it's definitely a little bit closer now between these two. And yeah, Pittman or Olave, considering the possible ankle. Like if you do want to factor in the possible ankle injury for Olave, which is just surfacing now before the game, he is active. Then I'm okay, using that as a tiebreaker. I'm okay going Pittman over Olave. I actually think I had Pittman over Olave already in my rankings. I don't think I had Olave ahead of Zay Flowers in my rankings before this report. And I don't think I do now either, but I'm okay leaning Zay there too. Zay, at least we know, at full health and has a better matchup overall than Olave does. Some streamers for week 5, Amon-Ra hurt and DK on bye, Sky Moore, Westbrook. Yeah, I'm going Westbrook, Akine over Sky Moore. I do not want anything to do with Sky Moore. Another deep receivers to play. Demario Douglas, I think, could have a pretty big role for the Pats today as they try to find their offensive identity. I think Calvin Austin's an interesting play. I think Michael Wilson. Josh Reynolds is a really interesting deep play. Same thing with Khalif Raymond. There's no Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jameson Williams playing, but he's capped at 20 snaps. And JT is on the must-bench list just because he's not going to see his full workload today. But I still think JT is startable in a decent amount of spots. Like I'm starting JT over Jaleel McLaughlin. I'm starting him over Alexander Mattison. I'm starting him over Deebo Samuel. I'm starting him over Najee Harris. I'm starting him over basically everyone else on the must-bench list. But he's still a bench if you can. Like I'm starting I think taking Dell versus JT is like a super, super close one. Super close one. Hey, Sam, love your content. Thanks, man. Pick 3, Waddle, Kyren, Judy, Olave, Pickens, or McLaughlin. Yeah, don't start with McLaughlin. I was just going on the rant about that, but definitely don't start Jaleel here. There's too many good options here to start Jaleel. Kyren and Waddle need to be started. And then Judy versus Olave versus Pickens, I think is pretty close. I think I kind of still lean Judy. I still think I kind of lean Olave. I have Olave ranked at 18, Judy ranked at 23. And yeah, there's certainly a little bit of risk here with Olave ankle stuff. I still lean Olave over Judy though. Like he's active. there's nothing about this ankle injury before. I'm not overreacting to a couple kind of, I think, maybe misleading videos. I'm going Olave over Judy this week. Mark Andrews over Laporta PPR. Yeah, I think I have them back-to-back or maybe within 2 spots in my tight end rankings, which I have live up on the screen right now on the YouTube live. And yeah, it is Kelsey, Hawkinson, Andrews, then Laporta for me this week. So yeah, they are back-to-back here. And yeah, I'm going Andrews over Laporta. I do really like Laporta today with no Amon-Ra. You definitely, and no Gibbs too. Like Laporta could lead this team in targets pretty easily. He probably will lead the team in targets. But he's also playing a team in the Panthers who have actually been pretty good against tight ends. And it's not like they haven't played good tight ends. The Panthers, they have allowed the 8th fewest points to tight ends, and they played Kyle Pitts and TJ Hawkinson in 2 of their 4 games. So yeah, I'm kind of nervous for Laporta just matchup wise, but really not feeling bad about him usage wise. So yeah, that's why he's at number 4 for me. Debo, Olave, or Puka. It's Puka Nacua still over Debo Samuel, over Chris Olave. And this is going to be a really, really interesting storyline to monitor. And there's definitely a pretty wide range of outcomes here for Puka Nacua. But guys, Puka Nacua doesn't do what he's done and not be really, really good and not continue to be used pretty heavily. You just don't see what Puka Nacua has done this season. You just don't see this from rookies in general. You don't see this just in general, but definitely not from rookie wide receivers. He has just crushed. I mean, look at all this green in these game logs on the YouTube live. He has had over a 22% target share in every game, multiple games over 30% target share. Like that probably won't happen as much with Cooper Kupp in the mix, but it's a really good matchup here against the Eagles. This is the best matchup for the Rams passing attack this season. It is. The Eagles are a pass funnel defense. They are going to score points on offense, leading the Rams to throw even more than they have. And the Rams, guys, they lead the league in passing attempts. Matt Stafford is 2nd in the league in passing yards. And this was all without Cooper Kupp. And Puka Nacua is a big piece of that. I still think he's going to be really, really involved. I still like him today as a top 15 option. I think I even might have him in my top 10 wide receiver still. I still have Cooper Kupp ahead of him this week, and moving forward, almost definitely Cooper Kupp will rank ahead of him, assuming he stays healthy. But yeah, Puka Nacua is still a really good option, in my opinion. Okay, Tua versus Lamar. Yeah, it's Lamar for me. I'm not benching Lamar again. I don't think this season. Like to me, Lamar's joined Mahomes, Allen, Jalen Hurts tier of quarterbacks after his performance last week against one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the league against the Browns. He scored 4 TDs, 30 points. Like you got to start Lamar every week in every matchup. There's no matchup that's too big for Lamar. Nico, Addison, full PPR. Yeah, it's Nico over Addison. Tough day for me at flex. Gus Edwards or Sky Moore. Full PPR. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, Nick, you were not alone in the tough week at flex. You know, there's bye weeks this week. Chargers on bye. Browns on bye. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 more other teams on bye this week. And then we also have just so many injuries. So many. Saquon, injured. Jahmyr Gibbs, injured. I could rattle off 6 more, but I'm not going to because the injuries are brutal. But, Nick, we can build – we can climb out of it. We can find sneaky flex plays. And, yeah, you can't start Sky Moore. It's a good matchup for Sky Moore. Let's do this comparison, actually, because I think this is a pretty interesting comparison because this is a PPR league. And Gus Edwards is not the guy you want in PPR leagues. I think he just maybe actually had his first career game like over 1 catch. I think his first game with multiple catches last week or the week before that. So not a good PPR player is all I'm trying to say there. And Sky Moore is just not a guy I want at all in my starting lineups. In PPR, he still gets the edge against Gus because it is PPR format. And Gus is not going to catch very many passes. And yeah, it's a good matchup for Sky. I'm okay going Sky Moore over Gus Edwards after looking at this. But I think I would start Josh Reynolds over Sky Moore. I even think guys like Michael Wilson, probably better than Sky Moore. I like Rashee Rice this week more than Sky Moore if he's still available in your league. I don't love Sky Moore by any means. Hey, Sam, love your content. Pick 3. I think we did this one. Matt, appreciate you in the YouTube live. It's Waddle, it's Kyren, and it's Judy. Sorry, it's Waddle, Kyren, and Olave. I'm starting Olave over Judy still. Connor or Hall, you're not benching Breece Hall this week. Do not bench Breece Hall this week. Breece Hall is also the free player prop of the day. Over 59.5 rushing yards. Lock it in for Breece Hall. That prop line is simply too low. It is too low for Breece Hall. Over 59.5 rushing yards. The Broncos, such a good matchup for Breece and the Jets offense. I'm surprised the Jets are underdogs in this game big time. What's up, Sam? Hurting this week with Saquon and Javonte out and JT coming back. Start Zach Moss or Gary Brightwell. Yeah, you got to go Zach Moss over Gary Brightwell. Do not start Gary Brightwell. It's Flowers over Debo Samuel, Kylo, for sure. Myers versus JT. Yeah, we're getting close to the JT line there, right around the Tank Dell line for JT this week, in my opinion. Jacoby Myers over JT is fine, especially with Jimmy G coming back and PPR, especially. I'm okay with that. Is Olave a start over Garrett Wilson? No, he's not a start over Garrett Wilson. Absolutely not. Better match for Garrett Wilson, and there's also like some small ankle concerns for Olave that like literally just popped up in the pregame. He's still active, so I'm not overreacting to the Olave stuff, but I had Garrett Wilson ranked ahead of him even before that. So definitely Garrett Wilson over Olave. AJ Brown over Puka Nacua. You're not benching AJ Brown. Zay over JT in PPR leagues. If it's half PPR, I'm okay going JT. The only reason I'm benching JT in a lot of spots is just like they're already came out and saying they're not going to like ramp him up to 100% workload immediately. And there's just a wide range of what that means. He could only get half the work. Goff, Burrow, Stafford, Dobbs. It's Stafford. It's for sure Stafford. Stafford is a really, really, really good option. He's my number 9 QB this week. And I think I probably should have even had him ahead of Trevor Lawrence. The only quarterbacks I'm playing over Matt Stafford, Kirk Cousins, Tua, Anthony Richardson, Lamar, Hurts, Allen, and Mahomes. And Allen, already started. But yeah, Matt Stafford, he leads the league in passing attempts. He's second in passing yards, but he only has 3 passing touchdowns, which ranks 25th in the league. And now he gets the Eagles, who are the best matchup he's had all season. The Eagles' defensive line is elite, but they're a pass funnel defense because their offense scores a lot of points, and their secondary is much, much worse than their defensive line. So, yeah, fire up Stafford for sure this week. Over Goff, over Burrow, over Dobbs. I think that's a really strong play. Brees or Kyron. Yeah, I'm going Brees over Kyron this week. I like both guys for sure, but Brees for me against the Broncos is a must-start player. We're benching JT just because there's reports that he's not going to see his normal full workload, which means it could mean a lot of different things. Sam, good morning. Would you trade Olave and Mostert for Aaron Jones and James Cook? Tad, good morning to you. Happy Sunday. We're on London time this morning, Tad. So good afternoon to you because we are in London time today. It's almost evening time in London. Olave and Mostert for Aaron Jones and James Cook. Really interesting trade here, Tad. Let's put this into the WalterPicks trade analyzer and see what Walter has to say about this. I don't love it. I still think Olave is a really good asset to have in fantasy. Mostert as well. I know Mostert's splitting now with Achane, a little bit concerning for his fantasy prospects, but I still think he's got a really high weekly ceiling. We have him ranked right behind Achane this week, for example. And then James Cook, this game, obviously not a great start for James Cook. Yeah, it's a pretty fair trade overall. I prefer the Olave Mostert side personally. I know Aaron Jones has a pretty high ceiling, but he's been dealing with injuries too. I personally lean towards the Olave side here, Dad, but it's a fair trade, as the WalterPicks trade analyzer just showed. By the way, if you ever are considering trades, like you got to at least put them into the WalterPicks trade analyzer, even if you disagree with the trade values, which are calculated based on Walter's rest of season projections, but also thousands of real trades in real leagues now are powering the WalterPicks trade values. There's no better trade values out there. And then also, if you sync your league to the WalterPicks app, it'll show you how the trade impacts your projected starting lineup points now. Massive. It really is a massive thing in this trade analyzer that is way better than. Let me show you guys an example quickly on the YouTube live. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, come to the YouTube live. Look at this. So not only will this show trade values now, which matters, of course, but also below the trade values, if you sync your league in the WalterPicks app, it'll show you, does this help your projected points? And you can even look at the playoffs versus rest of season, see how it helps the other team. Like this type of insight is really so much more useful sometimes than even just trade values, which is really just like how valuable are these players in trades. Does not mean necessarily it's going to help your team score more points depending on your team's strengths and weaknesses. All right, JT or Breida? It's JT over Breida. Yeah, we're drawing the line right around Matt Breida, Tank Dell. For JT, I'm starting JT over Breida. Nico Collins or Tank Dell? It's Nico Collins over Tank Dell. Madison or Ramondre? Do not start Alexander Madison this week, guys. Cam Akers played 30% of the snaps last week. Madison is in not a good matchup this week either. The Chiefs have been top 10 defense against running backs this season. Don't start Madison. How do we feel about Zach Wilson? I'm feeling pretty good about Zach Wilson. I don't know how you can't be after that last game. I mean, I know we've got a large sample size of Zach Wilson, not being good and really, really struggling and basically being impossible to win games when you're starting Zach Wilson. But last week was different, man. Last week against a decent Chiefs defense, Zach Wilson showed up and he was not the problem for the Jets last week. And now he gets a matchup, the best matchup you could almost ask for, against the Denver Broncos. Guys, Zach Wilson, he had the best fantasy game we've seen against the Chiefs so far this season. He did better than Jared Goff did against the Chiefs. Zach Wilson did better than Trevor Lawrence did against the Chiefs. Zach Wilson did better than Justin Fields did against the Chiefs. 245 yards, 2 passing TDs for Zach Wilson last week. Maybe he is turning the corner a bit. And guys, there's no better matchup for offenses to get right than against the Broncos. So yeah, interesting spot overall for Zach Wilson. And I really like Brees and Garrett Wilson this week for that reason. Help, I have Pitts. Yeah, you need all the help you can get. If you have Kyle Pitts, you're down really, really bad. I mean, Pitts is a certified bust already, and we're only 4 weeks into the season. He's clearly not at full health coming off the injury. They clearly did not report some piece of the injury stuff. And on top of that, like, this is not a passing attack you want pieces of. Like, not even just the injury not even just the injury excuse for Pitts. It's also just, not a good offense for receivers and receiving weapons. That's why I'm really out on Drake London this week too. Who's a good streamer, and is Logan Thomas back? Yeah, Logan Thomas kind of is back. He had a really good game. I think I have Henry versus Ertz. Let's check this one. I think I have Henry one spot ahead of Ertz. And yeah, I would play Hunter Henry over Zach Ertz. Akers or Algier. I'm going Akers over Algier. Carr or Zach Wilson. That one's a really interesting one. I honestly think Zach Wilson's maybe fine there. What if I have Cousins and Stafford? Yeah, both are really good options. I think you kind of have to go Cousins over Stafford. It's like the matchup on paper in terms of how the defenses have done against quarterbacks, much better for Stafford than Cousins. The projected game script, though, that is looking a little bit better for Cousins. Cousins is going to throw the ball so much. I mean, so is Stafford, though. I think I lean Cousins over Stafford still, but you could make a real argument, I think, for Stafford over Cousins this week. I'm playing Lamar over basically everybody. The only quarterbacks I'm not playing Lamar over are Josh Allen, who's already playing, Jalen Hurts, and Patrick Mahomes. That's it. Those are the only quarterbacks that I'm playing over Lamar. After last week, I think that's going to be the case for me basically every week with Lamar. Guys, he dropped 30 points against one of the top defenses of the league last week, and now he gets the Steelers, who have not been good defensively. I mean, they're a bad defense. Like, I'm not buying into this, like, Steelers-Ravens game, always tough, close, slow games. But, guys, the Steelers, this is not a good defense for the Steelers. They gave another 13th most points to quarterbacks. Jimmy G dropped 20 points on them. C.J. Stroud dropped 21 points on them. Brock Purdy had 17 points in week 1 against them. The Steelers, they've given the 4th most points to receivers this season. So I like Zay Flowers for that reason, too. I mean, Nico Collins popped off against them last week, and Devontae Adams the week before that. Ayuk crushed them in week 1. So, yeah, I'm in on the Ravens, beating, at least they're offensively, beating the Steelers pretty badly today. I have Pitts. Yeah, so it's Henry over Ertz for me today. Let me pull up. I got the tight end rankings up now on the YouTube Live. Guys, if you're watching live on TikTok, smash the follow button. Really do appreciate that. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We have been live for over 3 hours, and we got another 45 minutes left. This is the witching hour, as I like to call it, on this live. We get the witching hour on Red Zone, but the real witching hour, if you really think about it, it's now. It's these critical start-sit decisions that turn wins from losses and losses to wins in fantasy football. It is now that we can make the right decisions. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to help you guys optimize your starting lineups. That's also why, if I don't get to your start-sit, you got to check out the WalterPicks app. I'm telling you, there's less than an hour till kickoff. I can't possibly get to all the comments. I'm going to get to hundreds of them, as many as I can, but I can't get to all of them. I'll try to talk about all the key players. But the WalterPicks app will be custom to your scoring settings. You can also sync your league to the app and just seamlessly see what's the best starting lineup for my team this week. So check out the WalterPicks app. It's free to download. It's in the iOS and Android app store. It's in the TikTok bio. It's in the YouTube description. Checking out the app is by far the best way you could support me and help me out. Let me just give you guys a quick refresh if you're not watching the game right now in London, which a lot of you probably are. Bills versus Jaguars. Bills have the ball right now. I think it's 3rd and 15 on my screen right now. It's just the start of the 4th quarter. Let's just go through some of the stats, though. Does seem like Calvin really stepped it up a tiny bit. And wow, Josh Allen, bomb here. Wow, what an interception. Diggs almost had that. He was definitely down. Okay, Lawrence, 253 passing yards and a touchdown. Pretty good game, honestly, from him overall. Travis Etienne, only 60 rushing yards on 15 carries. He's doing okay. Calvin Ridley now 5 catches, 70 yards. So he's definitely saved his day a little bit here in the second half, and still some time to go for Ridley. Christian Kirk leads the Jaguars in receiving those 6 catches, 78 yards. Zay Jones has 3 catches, 23 yards, and a touchdown on the day. Diggs is having an absolute day. He almost just had another big play. But Diggs, 6 catches, 101 yards, and a TD already, and more to come here for Steph Diggs for sure. Dalton Kincaid up to 2 catches. Now he needs a couple more catches here for this player prop in this 4th quarter. But basically just Stephon Diggs is having a good day. And man, a really, really forgettable day here for James Cook. Only 4 carries, -2 yards. Only 2 catches. I mean, this is maybe time to start hitting the panic button a bit on James Cook. Not a good sign for him in this one. Stroud or Burrow? It's Stroud over Burrow for sure. Edwards or D-Hop? Got to go D-Hop over Edwards, 100%, especially if that's a PPR league. Bro, I got Javonte and Gibbs. Yeah, bro, Ravi, we are down bad in so many leagues. Do I hope Javonte plays or play Chuba or Zeke? You don't hope Javonte plays, because I think even if Javonte plays, you're probably not going to want to have started him in fantasy, because even if he plays, like, we just cannot expect a huge workload from Javonte. He hasn't been seeing big workloads as is. I think Chuba Hubbard is probably the play here, with Sanders also nursing still a groin injury. Tank Dell or Dobbs at flex. Full PPR. Yeah, I think I'd lean. This one's actually close. I think I have, if I go to my wide receiver rings here, I feel like I have Tank Dell I have Dobbs ahead of Dell. I would go Dobbs over Dell. Dobbs has been balling, and I know Christian Watson's going to come back and play a little bit more this week. I'm excited about him too. I think he's a good start. I think I still have Watson actually ahead of Dobbs, but Dobbs is a really good player right now for fantasy. I'm starting him over Tank Dell. I do like Tank Dell this week, his upside at least, but the floor is definitely lower than it is the floor for Dobbs. And Dobbs has a good ceiling too, but yeah, we're not playing Roman Dobbs over Devontae Smith, for example, like I'm seeing in the YouTube live right now. You're playing Breece Hall over Aaron Jones. You're playing Breece Hall basically over everybody today, guys. The only running backs you're not playing Breece Hall over, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, David Montgomery, Tony Pollard. And like maybe you can make a case for Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, but that's it. And like you got to start Breece Hall, guys. He's playing the Broncos, such a good matchup. They're saying there's no more snap restriction. You got to start Devontae Adams. Yes, I know he's questionable, but you got to start him. I think he's going to play. He's against his former team. Revenge game for Adams this week on Monday Night Football. And we've seen Adams historically play through injuries. Would you do Westbrook-Akine or Sky Moore full PPR? Already have D-Hop. Yeah, I mean, starting both Titans receivers is never going to feel great, I don't think. Let me pull up this comparison on the YouTube live, though, because I have a feeling Westbrook-Akine is going to project better than Sky Moore will. Yeah, it is. It's Westbrook-Akine. I know we saw a good game from Westbrook-Akine last week. He's projected 9 points here in the WalterPicks app. He had 16 points last week, 82% of the snaps, ran a route basically on every drop back. He's going to be an every down player this week. Kyle Phillips is back, though. Kyle Phillips is back this week. He was not back last week. I'm interested to see how that affects Nick Westbrook-Akine. But I still think, yeah, it's okay to play him over Sky Moore. Sky Moore, I would argue, maybe still has a little bit of a higher ceiling just in that game environment against the Vikings. But, yeah, baseline, I'm going Westbrook-Akine over Sky Moore. And that just shows you how down bad Sky Moore is right now. JT, London, MT, or Rice? Yeah, so many JT questions today. And I got JT on my must-bench list today. But he's not like an auto must-bench in all situations. I think there's still plenty of spots you can start JT in. I don't think this is one of them, though. I'm starting Michael Thomas over Jonathan Taylor. I'm starting Jonathan Taylor over Drake London and Rashee Rice, though. And I like Rashee Rice. I think it's a sneaky upside flex play, but the floor is still low for Rashee Rice on an offense that spreads the ball around a lot to different receivers. So, yeah, I'm going JT. I'm going MT, then JT, then London. Sorry, then Rice, then London. You can't start Drake London right now. Maybe London over Rice, actually. Let's see where I have. Is Drake London even in these rankings? Yeah, he is. Very, very at the end. I got Rashee Rice over Drake London this week. I mean, just yikes overall for this passing attack for the Falcons. You just can't start guys in this passing attack. D-Hop or Dameon Pierce? It's D-Hop over Dameon Pierce for sure in PPR leagues. All right, guys, here's the deal. The last 20 minutes of this live stream, I'm live on YouTube. I'm live on TikTok right now. The last 20 minutes of the live stream is going to be on the TikTok live. So YouTube live people, I'm going to try to we'll do rapid fire 5 more minutes in the YouTube live comments. Then I'm going to be exclusively looking at the comments and doing those on TikTok. And then we'll be wrapping up the stream momentarily. Let's do rapid fire, though, here in the comment section. Watson or Dell? I'm going Christian Watson over Tank Dell. Jerry Jeudy or Josh Reynolds? I'm going Jerry Jeudy over Josh Reynolds. I do like Josh Reynolds, though. You got to start Devontae Adams. Mike Wilson, Josh Reynolds, or Jalen Warren. It's between these first two, and honestly, I think it's Josh Reynolds over Michael Wilson. Conklin or Musgrave? Oh, God, yikes. I think I have neither of them here in my top. Let's do this one quickly. Conklin versus Musgrave. I mean, ultimately, like most tight end starts it's whichever guy ends up falling into the end zone is the guy that will absolutely crush the other player. Musgrave's down bad. I think we're still projecting him out here, which I think is maybe a mistake. But yeah, I'll go Conklin over Musgrave in this one. All right, let's get back to the comments here. Let me pull up my QB rankings again on the YouTube live. Pitts or Ertz? Yeah, I'm not starting Pitts. Start Ertz over Pitts. I'm not starting Jonnu just because I can't physically get myself to do it, but there's a good argument for Jonnu over Pitts. Dobbs, Thomas, or Rashee Rice, pick two. He's the first two over Rashee Rice. Start Dobbs and Michael Thomas over Rashee Rice. Heyman, do you like D-Hop, Tank Dell, or Sutton? I like D-Hop, then Tank Dell, then Sutton. I would go in that order this week. If you had to start one, who'd you start? McLaughlin, Zach Moss, or Justice Hill? I think I would go Zach Moss, then McLaughlin, then Justice Hill. I do not feel good about McLaughlin. And we still don't even have confirmation Javonte's officially out either. Like, I think the floor is just too low for McLaughlin. I'm okay going Moss, even though I don't like Moss either with JT back. But JT is not going to get his full role today. So Moss still will have at least some role. Amon-Ra, still no Jameson Williams. Even though Amon-Ra's out, they're saying they're capping him at 20 snaps. So, yeah, do not start Jameson Williams. D-Hop, Zay, Waddle, pick two. Definitely Waddle needs to be started over D-Hop and Zay. And I think I have Zay one spot behind D-Hop. So, yeah, it's D-Hop and Waddle. Go with the vets over the rookie in this one. Breece versus Pittman. It's Breece over Pittman. We're starting Breece Hall in every spot. Guys, time is the most valuable thing we have. Happy birthday, Toby. Pick 3, Standard League. Kyron Williams. First time back this year. Toby, good to see you, man. Kyron Williams, Pacheco, Kamara, Swift. It's Kamara, and it's Kyron Williams. Pick 3. I think I would go Swift over Pacheco. And then thanks, Sam. Peace. Or Mahomes or Richard. Yeah, you gotta go Mahomes over Richardson. You gotta go Kyron, Kamara, and Swift here. Guys, time's the most valuable thing we have. Thanks for spending some time with me on the YouTube Live. We'll be wrapping up the live stream on TikTok. Come follow us on TikTok at WalterPicks to join that live. 20 minutes, we're going rapid fire in the comment section there. Have a good Sunday, everyone, in the YouTube Live. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you for spending some time with me today. Good luck, everybody.